Chiefs fans, this is the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show, presented by CBD American Shaman. Life is better with a feather.
They say that in sports there's no such thing as a moral victory. I ask you today, Kansas City, is there such a thing as a moral loss? That's probably an overreaction. But also, this game was simply not what any of us expected. The Chiefs are victorious over the Denver Broncos. Saw that coming. This game even not covering the spread. Not terribly surprising to me. But 34-28, when things were looking very, very, very different back in that first half a lifetime ago, at 27-0, this was not the score I expected. I imagine that is true for you. I appreciate you deciding to come spend some time recapping it all, breaking down what went well, what went poorly, what matters going forward for the Kansas City Chiefs. I am Joshua Brisco here with Beards McFly and Dylan Michaels producing the effort from behind the glass. It is the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show presented by CBD American Shaman. Free CBD samples every day, and I might need some. You might need some. The Chiefs running back might need some, although Isaiah Pacheco seems like he gets stronger every time he takes a hit, or really, maybe more accurately, every time he delivers a hit. But in a game where Russell Wilson looked the best he had looked in a Broncos uniform until he was knocked out of the game with a scary looking, but ultimately it seems probably relatively okay injury. He was eventually ruled out, certainly, and we'll let you know if any more info comes out on him. But he was knocked out of the game, and then, well, things didn't necessarily get all that much easier for the Chiefs' defense. Brett Rippon comes in, and he's able to throw a third touchdown pass to Jerry Jeudy. You have a defense that just really struggled to preserve their lead. You have 3 interceptions. 3! From Patrick Mahomes in a game where that was the way that the Broncos got back into this game. Patrick Mahomes turns the ball over, and for my money, I'll be very interested to hear from Reid and Mahomes after the game. Of course, we'll bring you their press conferences here on the postgame show. I'll be very interested to hear from Reid and Mahomes because sometimes you get the breakdown of an interception or a mistake made or whatever, and you figure out, oh, actually, that wasn't on the quarterback. That wasn't on Mahomes. That was on the receiver. That was a case for the pick earlier in the year on a target to Sky Moore. He ran the wrong route and just sort of took that angle wrong, and Andy Reid told us that much after the game. I don't think that's what happened to Mahomes today. I think, once again, when he targeted Sky Moore, that one got picked off. I wonder about the route on that one. I wonder how that one all came together. But at least the other two just looked like bad passes, bad reads, bad choices, missed defenders from Patrick Mahomes. In a game where he had another outrageous MVP moment, another highlight that makes you go, oh my goodness, who the bleep is this guy? How does he do this with a football? And then, frankly, this is like an enormous overreaction, so hear me with that grain of salt at the beginning. But frankly, this might have been the type of game you expected from Patrick Mahomes the first time you went back and revisited his Texas Tech highlights after the Chiefs drafted him in 2017. The naysayers who believed a little bit but had their doubts about Mahomes, I think this part was always unfair. I do not think this is the direction his career is headed by any means. But the idea was, he'll make some crazy plays, but he'll also make some stupid mistakes. Well, Mahomes, over the course of his career, has simply not done that. That has not been who he is as a person, as a quarterback, as the best quarterback in football. But that's exactly what makes this game so strange. Now, the Broncos do a really good job of affecting the quarterback. Mahomes was the first 300-yard passer the Broncos have allowed this year. He did it to the tune of 352 yards when it was all said and done. The Broncos do a good job of simulating pressure, make you think pressure's coming when it's not actually. They do a good job of mixing things up. This Broncos defense is very talented, which is why if this game was 27-17, which I think is what my prediction was on Friday, but something like that, if it was a sub-30-point performance for the offense and a sub-20-point performance for the defense, we might feel okay about that. You can at least talk yourself into something that's just sort of a gritty game where Isaiah Pacheco and Derrick McKinnon run the ball a ton. Maybe Ronald Jones gets in on the action. There was a way for the Chiefs to not cover this game and for it not to feel bad. And I never want to come in and start apologizing for losses on the Chiefs' behalf. I don't think most teams do much of that at all. When you get a win, you need to take that victory and go ahead and chalk it up for your seeding in the AFC, a chance to clinch the AFC West tonight if the Dolphins beat the Chargers. But this game didn't feel very good. As soon as you stopped chuckling at Travis Kelce leaning back on the bench with his arms outstretched, big smile on his face after the Willie Gay pick 6. Pretty much from that point on, this game was not a lot of fun. How much of it matters, though? How much of this is repeatable, concerning for next week, the rest of the season, really the playoffs? Because the rest of the regular season for the Chiefs, they go to the Texans next week. They get the Seahawks at home on Christmas Eve, the Broncos at home on New Year's Day, and they close their season in Vegas against the Raiders. None of those teams are very good. The Seahawks are the most dynamic of those. They've been the most fun, but right now they have the football, losing to the Carolina Panthers by 6 with about 15 seconds left in the game. I don't really know how that game has gone, other than that Sam Darnold's Panthers are winning. Oh, and in fact, actually, I'll keep an eye on it. I think the Seahawks recently scored, and so therefore they're probably onside kicking this game to the end. So the best team remaining on the Chiefs' schedule looks like they're about to lose to Sam Darnold's Panthers. And they ought to be able to control the rest of this way out. And if they just manage to win out the rest of their season, go 5-0 after losing to the Bengals, their odds of winning the 1 seed in the AFC are pretty darn good. Just because the rest of those contenders around them, the Bills and the Bengals with the tiebreakers over them, those teams have some tougher schedules the rest of the way. Chiefs still have a chance at the 1 seed, so wins do matter. The result certainly matters. But there are some really genuinely concerning things from this game. We've had a couple of shows this year where it's felt like a postgame show of an almost loss more than it's felt like a postgame show of a win. I'm not totally sure what you're all going to think across the phones, across the video streams where you can watch the show live, leave your comments on the Sports Radio 810 WHB, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. Beer, just try to throw an eyeball up to the comment section when you get a chance to. I know there's a lot of moving parts back there. But
you want to know what it sounds like? What
yes,
it looks like?
Yes, I do. That's kind of the vibe that I got. Is that it's going to be a little bit of a, are we safe here? Here's what I have on the offensive side. Mahomes' mistakes are, they've popped up to have a late game forced sort of iced play that Mahomes throws a pass he probably shouldn't, tries to make something happen, it gets picked, doesn't really matter that much. We've seen some of those. Those don't concern me. And frankly, because I still think we're watching the MVP of the league, although Jalen Hurts is, I believe I saw that he's only thrown 3 interceptions this season. Which, if that is correct, I've not looked it up myself, but Beard is nodding. I saw that tweet somewhere else today. That's a pretty good argument. He's been excellent. But Patrick Mahomes is the best player in football. He has been that pretty much every minute that he has taken a breath as a starter in this game. And frankly, I don't think it should be too controversial to say Patrick Mahomes has earned my benefit of the doubt. The mistakes today were strange. And if it is the beginning of a pattern, it is concerning. I'm guessing someone across the phone lines, comment sections, whatever, will say, hey, this already is a pattern for Mahomes because he has had some of those other, game 90% of the way, locked up mistakes. This was a different animal, though, and a bad one, an animal I don't care for. I was trying to think what my least favorite animal is, but I don't really want to slander any animals as being my least favorite. That's sort of concerning. And also, I've mentioned this on The Zone. I think I've probably said this just about every platform I could think of over the last couple of weeks. This offense does really miss the McCole, Hardman, Kadarius Toney element. I'm not even saying Tyreek Hill because I don't even mean all of that. I mean what you can do to a defense when you can stress and stretch them horizontally with the motions, what it does for a defense to have to freeze and recalculate for that and know that there is going to be a mess coming at them. And also what those guys can do in space with the ball in their hands. Derrick McKinnon, screen god today. But some of those touches could go to even more explosive players who are a little more jittery in space. McKinnon's excellent. I'm happy for the number of touches McKinnon gets for the most part. But having that element back where you know you have someone you can give the ball to and you can get a different type of yardage pretty easily, this offense misses that. I say that as an offense that just scored 34 points on a very good defense that have not allowed a 300-yard passer yet today. That is the least of my concerns of the three that I'm going to bring to you on the offensive side. That's 3 out of 3. I'm going to go coaching second. And I'm not even going to be able to hit every single part of this. Just some examples. Andy Reid was incredibly passive on 4th down today. It felt like he was saying, we're playing the Broncos, we don't need to go for it here. But I'm telling you, it's worse than that. Because early in the game against the Bengals, where they later did end up going for it in 4th down more often, early in games against bad teams, good teams, anybody, Andy Reid would rather take the super safe feeling 3 points, even when they're not that safe, depending on who your kicker is. Andy Reid will absolutely default to the 3 points before he does the even slightly riskier thing of trying to keep your offense on the field and keep pushing for 7. He did it early in this game. I tweeted about it. Some people said, he's saving his good stuff for a better team because the Broncos aren't going to be anywhere near it. Hey, don't predict what the next 55 minutes are going to be of this football game. Take what you got and do the most you can to put this game out of reach when you have a chance to do that. It's the 4th down calls. It's not going for 2 to make it a 2-touchdown game, which ended up, again, if Russell Wilson doesn't get hurt, I don't know how this game looks, which is a crazy thing to say for a quarterback who's been the laughingstock of the league this year. You'll notice I haven't mentioned the defense yet, and I'm only at 2 out of 3, so give me time. But to leave this game hanging in the balance and something really easy. I know this is a minute thing. If you're rolling your eyes, give me 30 more seconds on it. If you can't go for 2 with Patrick Mahomes and your offense out there to make it a 14-point game at the risk of it only being a 12-point game versus the extra point to make it a 13-point game, late in the occasion here. There aren't a whole lot of point combinations that are still coming the rest of the way. If you don't make that assignment an easy one, that is concerning to me. Because it's not Andy Reid cost the Chiefs 1 point, he should be fired. It's Andy Reid didn't hold up the 2 there. I don't know if it was somebody in his headset who didn't get it to him quick enough, or if he overruled somebody, whatever the process was, the Chiefs left a point on the board, a meaningful point on the board, that was very close to mattering. Which was same as early in the game. The 4th downs, they decide, hey, no, we're either going to take the field goal here, or we're going to punt it away, which happened later in the game as well. I think Andy Reid just wants to have the most probable outcomes over the course of a game. But that's not really how the league works, and certainly not how the league works against your team. So that's concerning to me. When you start missing a bunch of layups, that is reasonable for cause for concern, and Andy Reid has missed some bunnies already this year in that department. I'm concerned because when it happens again against the Bengals or again against a better team, I don't want to sit here doing a postgame show saying, the Chiefs lost by 1 point because in the 3rd quarter they didn't go for 2 when they should have. And now their season's over. I don't want to do that show. But right now I have no faith that the Chiefs are taking the easy points like that. Or at least the easy opportunities when they're in high leverage moments that can really change what the other team has to account for. Anyway. The biggest concern, obviously, is the defense, and probably not for the reasons a lot of people are expecting. When a defense is bad, the first thing most people want to do is fire the defensive coordinator. I understand why. It makes sense. It's way easier to fire one defensive coordinator than it is to replace 8 players. It's even more frustrating in a year where they did have a huge defensive overhaul. And Spags didn't pitch any sort of perfect game today. Some of the pressures that he was going to and the blitz packages were not getting home, and that was a big problem against the Bengals as well. And when the defense did step up, it was largely Chris Jones being the superhero that he is, plus some other guys making some great plays. Willie Gay being an athletic freak on that pick 6. That play was unbelievable. Great play. One dude feasted on it. George Karlaftis had a very George Karlaftis-y sack, and then also the batted pass, where I think Willie Gay also may have gotten a fingertip on it. There were guys who made plays. And if you don't do that, the Chiefs lose this game. If you take Chris Jones out of the equation, the Chiefs lose this game by like 8. But this, for the second week in a row, it's hard to watch this defense just try to take an angle and tackle a guy. And it's not even that it's Derrick Henry or even last week like Jamar Chase, but you just have guys in space, and Nick Bolton is not going to shed a blocker. And not even just in the screen where he was in space against a lineman. There was a lot of space around him. But he just sort of waited for the block to get there, and then he couldn't get away from it. And then Juan Thornhill, multiple occasions in this game, you see him take an angle that leaves him looking not for a new angle, but for new ankles. You also get plays where Juan Thornhill reminds you that he is a worthwhile player, where he doesn't drop a hit stick or is there on a good contesting for a pass. But when you have free yardage appearing for the offense, that's the stuff you can't give up. And frankly, that's the part of this defense that I'm most concerned about. And that's the part of this defense that I don't look to Steve Spagnuolo on to say, hey, explain to me why you can't tackle. I know we'll talk about tackling again today. It'll be 2 weeks in a row. And you can say, oh, they don't teach tackling anymore. I'm begging you to please go throughout the rest of the league. And maybe there's something to it. But you go throughout the rest of the league, go talk to the NFLPA, figure out what the practicing schedules are, how much of the real live work you can do, and find me a team that is able to practice tackling more than others. Andy Reid runs a famously tough training camp. They get a lot done in the week to week, although I think they've kind of throttled some of that down later in the season as guys, are more and more banged up. But I don't think that the Chiefs need to bring in your high school coach that teaches you to put your helmet on the football and tackle the ball. It's just not happening. And I don't know if that's guys who aren't athletic enough that end up having bad technique to try to overexert to cover for their underwhelming athleticism for the guys they're trying to bring down. I don't know if they're bad angles and bad pursuit, if guys aren't thinking about it in the moment enough, if they're just getting beat and getting beat just enough to throw off what they're able to do. But I spent a lot of these last 120 minutes of Chiefs football watching them take bad angles and tackle poorly or not at all. Only winning this game by 6 doesn't really bother me. Being up by 27 and losing by 6 does. And with the exception of Tommy Townsend, kind of like last week, I think just about everybody gets a little piece of this where you can say, hey, this is not what you can bring to a playoff game. And hey, this wasn't one. But I thought the Chiefs would look a lot sharper than they did today. I thought they would be coveting the opportunity to play some really dominant football after the loss to the Bengals. And I'm willing to give the Broncos a lot of credit on defense because I was doing that coming into this week. I have a lot of respect for that defense. And the Chiefs did enough offensively, more than enough. Should have been more than enough, I should say, against a very good Broncos unit on that side of the ball. But they left points on the board. I didn't even get to Andy Reid taking the penalty on 2nd and 34 instead of it being 3rd and 24. That was sort of strange. And that drive continues and ends in the Brett Rippon dart to Jerry Jeudy in the back middle of the end zone. Coaching mistakes, execution mistakes. That's what it takes to play a really close football team to a Broncos team that I do not think terribly highly of, at least from an offense and, my God, from a coaching perspective. We were joking that barely joking, that Nathaniel Hackett might get fired at halftime. I legitimately thought Beards made a great point at about 27-0. He said, is this going to be when they just make Nathaniel Hackett a one-and-done, fire him mid-season? I said, Beards, that's a great point. I would not be surprised at all if this is the time they go ahead and drop the guillotine on the one-year experiment of Nate Hackett, because when we were having that conversation, they were losing to a division rival 27-0.
Thank you.
It was a great point, Beards. And then Nathaniel Hackett might have saved his job. That is not a ringing endorsement of a football game that you won. You did, in fact, win. It just didn't feel like a whole lot to celebrate. We'll bring you Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, probably at least one other player from the podium. The Chiefs are on the road, of course, in Denver, so we'll see how that all comes down the line. In the meantime, we'll take your calls, 913-381-810. Again, you can also watch the show and leave your comments across the Sports Radio 810 WHB social platforms. That's Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter for the video feeds. We'll go to the phones now and open it up with Gary. Gary, you're on Sports Radio 810 WHB. What's up, Gary?
Not much. Just a lot of head scratching after watching that game today. Your $500 million quarterback makes three really, really, really stupid decisions with the football, and your head coach doesn't chew him on the sideline. It comes over, hands him his tablet, jump him. It's okay. He's getting $500 million. If he can't handle it, then he's in the wrong line of business. You put your defense out there in bad situations, and once again, you're never out of a game against the Spagnuolo defense. You will never be out of it. This team will never blow anybody out as long as Spagnuolo is on the other side. Teams don't fear the Chiefs' defense. Yeah, they might get home every now and then, but Jerry Jeudy, 3 touchdowns. They turned him into a national hero today. Josh Williams has no business being out there, and I don't know Dave Merritt. I don't know if he's saying he doesn't want to be here much longer, but the technique that these defensive backs show is horrendous. I was watching the Jets game earlier today. You see DBs batting passes, actually running with the receiver stride for stride, turning around, looking for the ball, still in coverage. I guess Chiefs defenders, the defensive backs don't work on that here, and Steve Spagnuolo is just begging to get fired, and I know that he and Andy, they're buddies and whatever else. I'm sure that Spagnuolo's got the goods on him or something, because that's the only reason I can think of why the man still has a job. This team, if they get bounced early in the playoffs, I'm not going to be shocked. Yes, we get Toney and Hardman back, but that defense is still the same defense. The cavalry's not coming for that defense, guys. And I'd rather see Willie Gay making plays, coming over and ringing somebody's bell, than picking a ball off and running it back for a touchdown. I want to see my linebackers hitting people. And you don't see this defense laying the lumber on anybody. It's reach out with your arms, pull them down, pray to God they make a tackle, because your teammates aren't going to come and surround and make a tackle either. But, is there anything more hilarious than watching Spagnuolo on the sideline with his hands on his knees, looking out there like he actually knows what he's looking at? But at some point, the heat's got to be turned up on Spagnuolo, and if Clark Hunt has to step in and say, we're going to go in a different direction here because it's obvious you can't handle these decisions, then maybe it's time. But, Andy's got a Super Bowl. Yeah, that's great, but that's 3 years ago now. That's in the rearview mirror. It's time for him to move on and bring in somebody that's going to develop these young guys, because the development's not there. The best player on this defense was brought in by the previous regime, and that's Chris Jones. Nobody's taking a step forward. Nobody's doing anything defensively, but that's Andy's buddy over there. Let's not forget, he didn't sit out 2018 because he wanted to. Nobody wanted him. I'll hang up and listen. Great show.
Gary, I appreciate it, but I do feel like unless you think Steve Spagnuolo isn't coaching well enough to get somebody tackling, or you mentioned nobody fears the Chiefs defense, and they never thump anybody over the middle. That part I agree with. I don't think that's a coaching problem, though. I think if you say, hey, nobody hits anybody on this defense, then maybe it's time to have a different conversation about Nick Bolton. That's what he's here for. That is an athleticism problem, or a speed problem, or a space in the middle problem. I don't know what you look for today to say, oh, that's Steve Spagnuolo coming up short. I think Gary's mentioned this a couple weeks in a row. The loudest thing I'll disagree with you on is Dave Merritt and the Chiefs corners. You mentioned Joshua Williams, Fayetteville State, Jalen Watson, 7th round pick, L'Jarius Sneed, 4th round pick. Rashad Fenton, who should probably still be on this team. Been on that one since the trade went down. They got some cap space. Hope that was good for everybody. And a conditional pick that may never arrive. Rashad Fenton was a 6th round pick. The miracle of this Chiefs defense is that the members of their secondary who are being relied on over the course of all this, especially when Trent McDuffie was out, the miracle of this Chiefs defense is the corners. McDuffie, he had 2 terrible plays, both on terribly thrown footballs, so you can figure out how you want to make that work. Where he got called for the DPI, they're going to call that because the receiver's making a play on the ball, and that one I'll say, hey, look, McDuffie needs to make a play on that ball as well. It's a tough spot, but he has to make a play on the ball so he doesn't get flagged there. He also should have picked off Russ on a ball that bounced off his face mask. That's your first-round pick you traded up for. He had 2 big misses there, and what I think was ultimately a pretty good day for him. Hard to see whenever you aren't watching, if the ball's not going to you. But those 2 plays, McDuffie missed. If you see Joshua Williams only give up 1 big play a week, I'm going to largely sign up for that because that's what they've invested in that group. That's a different story than, Sauce Gardner and the Jets. I also don't think you need to look at Willie Gay's pick 6 as a problem. If you have a linebacker not delivering the violence problem, fair enough, I suppose. The Broncos' running game was very average outside of Russell Wilson today. They didn't run the ball that much anyway. 19 carries for 106 yards sounds pretty good. 4 for 57 of those were Russell Wilson. Latavius Murray was averaging 4 yards a carry. Marlon Mack averaged 5. I think there's a bigger safety problem right now than anything else, along with the pass rush, perhaps. And there were better moments there today. But the safeties have had a really rough stretch, even though Justin Reid had a pretty good second half, at least, against the Bengals. I'll be curious to see what it looks like against the Broncos today. But something in the second, really third level of that Chiefs defense is not right. And that is a place they've invested. Both in the draft picks on Thornhill, now in a contract year. Cook, still a rookie. Money for Justin Reid. That depth of the defense, I remain more concerned about than I do anything around Dave Merritt or Willie Gay or, frankly, even Spags. I don't think this was a schematic problem. I think you have a defense that isn't where it's fully supposed to be right now, with some limited players who are looking limited in those spots. We'll wait just 1 second here, I suppose. I was just about to go over to hit the next button, but we may have a live presser for you live from Denver. So I will I'll look around. Looks like Willie Gay will be up next, so we'll hear him live from the Mile High City here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Here's Willie Gay.
It was really a blitz, and I realized what kind of play it was. They was just trying to, bring me down so they can get it over my head. So I was like, I wasn't gonna blitz to the quarterback. I was gonna try to get my hand up, and that's what I did. And luckily, it came right to me once I knocked it down. So after that, I just knew I had to make Russ miss, and the rest was, to the end zone. So.
Did you think you'd be able to get enough momentum to get moving after you had to go up and catch it like that?
Oh yeah, I was an athlete, all through high school. So, so I knew I was going to be able to get there.
Anybody else? For the defense overall today, you guys had some big moments and also some moments I'm sure you can take back. What's your sort of broader takeaway from the way this game played out?
We was up on them big at first, man, and it's the details, that lets his team score 2-3 touchdowns in short, time span, and it can be any call you call. If one person is out of the gap or misses an assignment, you get a screenplay go 60 yards or however long it was. You get a quarterback rushing 15 to scramble 15, 20 yards, and those little things, man, add up. And like the touchdown to Judy at the back of the end zone after the scramble with Russ, hope he's okay, by the way. But, yeah, stuff like that, man, leads to touchdowns. And that's definitely stuff we can fix at practice this week.
Willie, it looks like you guys are going to win another division championship. You'll get it tonight if the Chargers lose their game tonight. Anything stand out to you about this one?
This game?
Well, this division championship, if you get it, assuming you will.
Shoot, man, I don't really. I just play each and every week, 1 week at a time. I don't really think too far ahead or look at other games. The other guys might, but I really just worry about us, and try to win out and do what we need to do, which is win out. I don't care who else loses. If we do what we're supposed to do, we'll be in Arizona end of the season. So.
Anyone else? Thanks, Willie.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
There's Willie Gay here on Sports Radio 810 WHB live from Denver, kicking off our locker room report.
The Chiefs Locker Room Report is brought to you by Twin Peaks. No one does football like Twin Peaks. Whatever your preference, they have everything from tequila cocktails and an extensive bourbon category to top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls. Local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails round out an adventurous drink menu, second to none. And don't forget about their 29-degree man-sized drafts at Twin Peaks.
Next up, live from Denver, Derrick McKinnon after a big game on the ground and through the air.
Try to just feel, and he made an incredible play to get it out there, and then I was able to come down with it. Had a great block out front as well, and able to create an amazing play. He peeped at me, but I wasn't sure what he was going to do with it, so I kind of was just waiting to see what happened, and he got it out there. It gave me time to get to it.
Is that one of the things where just having Mahomes at your quarterback, you have to always kind of be ready to have the ball coming?
Yeah, definitely. You've seen it since he's been in the league. He's been doing, amazing things like that. And, they always emphasize scramble drill, throughout camp and the season. And, whenever he breaks the pocket, I think guys do a pretty good job at getting over. Mostly like he finds Kelce on some crazy stuff most of the time. And, just trying to be there for him. And, like I said, man, he made an amazing play.
What did you say about the team that you guys were able to finish this win?
Yeah. We're just a tough team, and it starts with Coach Reid and trickles down. It definitely wasn't easy. That Broncos defense, we knew they were going to be tough. They came out and played hard all 4 quarters. So, hats off to them for that for sure. So, we had to keep fighting. Definitely was battle tested, and we just wanted to respond from last week's loss.
With how good the Broncos secondary is, did you guys know that checkdowns were going to be so important today?
Film they did. They dropped a lot, and we knew that the flats would be there. Pat hit us in the flat a couple times, and some other guys in the flats, and really just forced them to take those flats and then opened everything else up after that.
Derrick, looks like you guys are going to win another AFC West championship if LA loses tonight, the Chargers lose. Anything stand out about this championship to you?
Anytime you win the division is definitely great, but we definitely want to finish the season out on the right note. We got some tough teams coming up that are definitely, it's not a walkthrough. So, our main focus is to win out and take care of business. And, whatever happens after that, it's great.
Anyone else? Thanks, Derrick.
There's Derrick McKinnon. Had a really excellent game tonight. A downright Jamal Charlesian stat line, if you will. 7 receptions, 112 yards, and 2 touchdowns just as a receiver. 6 carries, 22 yards on the ground. And really the guy the Chiefs went to kind of to close it out there for the most part late, not on the very final drive, but in the second to last drive, rather than going to Isaiah Pacheco instead. sort of intriguing and worth keeping in mind as the Chiefs figure out how they try to put games away on the ground. We'll go back to the phones here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. Again, it's brought to you by CBD American Shaman. And the good news is, hey, 34 points means a pretty good discount because when Kansas City scores, you score big at your local CBD American Shaman. Our team score is your percent off. They scored 34 points, so you get 34% off all day tomorrow on orders of $100 or more at CBD American Shaman because life is better with the feather. Back to the phones. Next up, we've got Travis. Travis, you're on Sports Radio 810. What's up, Travis?
Hey, JB. So, I guess before I go scorched earth on how I feel at this moment, I just want to say to Gary, you don't have to yell at Mahomes because Mahomes already knows what he did wrong.
Yeah.
That's why Big Red goes over there and pats him on the leg and says, hey, keep firing, because he's the best quarterback. He's the best football player in the league. You don't need to go chew his ass and make him feel bad. He's not a kid. He doesn't need to be coddled. He doesn't need to be yelled at and screamed at to know that he did something wrong. So I just wanted to say that. I'm fine with Pat Mahomes. The guy threw 3 picks. He's only done it twice in his career. Stuff happens. That's a legit defense there, and they smoked them. They moved the ball when they wanted to, and to be honest, I feel like they made mistakes. Like this team, I feel like they kind of played flat. Yeah. And this is the second or third game in a row where they've kind of played that way offensively. Kelce was dropping passes. Mahomes has, made some mistakes. The offensive line at times didn't look great. But as far as the defense goes, and I'm going to be honest, I like Spagnuolo. I think this is a coaching problem, and here's why. They make some of the most fundamentally stupid mistakes of any. At times, you think you're watching the Chicago Bears. Mm-hmm. How bad and how stupid they look on the field. The safeties are always out of position. It's the same issue as it was last year. It's just they cover it a little bit better because they're more athletic. The defensive linemen, everybody wanted to crap on Bolton last week in Cincinnati. You want to know why Nick Bolton wasn't able to make a play last week? Because the defensive linemen's asses were in his face on the snap of the ball. He had no room to move. He had no space to maneuver. Yeah, you're going to get run over when the defensive line is sitting in your lap. So they blitzed when they didn't need to blitz. There was no reason to blitz. Once they started moving the ball, just stop blitzing. You didn't need to blitz. That's why those blitzes don't work. They don't. Yeah, they generate some pressure, but they don't work. They don't work as intended. Half the time, they don't even get there. If Chris Jones isn't a mauler and doing his job on the line, there's zero pressure from the defensive line. So here's my question to you, Josh. This is what I want to ask you, and I'll listen. I'll hang up and I'll listen. If it's not a coaching problem, and these are just mediocre players, which I don't personally think is the case, then maybe we should start looking at Brett Veach. Because if these are mediocre players and Spagnuolo is getting the best out of these players, then it's a personnel problem. Mm-hmm. And if it's a personnel problem, it's a Veach problem, which means that he needs to find better players. So it's one of the – I'm not saying the players are innocent. That's not what I'm saying. But I think that either Veach isn't getting Spagnuolo the players that he wants, or Spagnuolo's not doing a good enough job coaching these guys up.
Travis,
and I think.
Oh, go ahead.
And I just want to say one more thing. I think it starts at the top with Big Red, man. I think right now this is a very poorly coached team. Very poorly coached team, whether it's the fundamentals, whether it's play calling. I think the coaching staff is what is holding this team back. That's all I got, guys. Thanks. Enjoy the show.
Appreciate it, Travis. It is a weird one. There is something with the levels of intensity, I guess. You mentioned that it felt flat today. The weird thing about today is that it didn't feel flat at the beginning, and then it got flattened out as opposed to some of the slow starts we've seen them have. That's the strange thing. I think that in the conversation about the defense, I think you absolutely have to at least include Brett Veach in it. I think that there is room to say that this defense, if it's filled with relatively mediocre players, which I think is largely the case in the NFL scale, they're the best players you'd find out of probably your favorite college team, but ultimately at NFL level, I think you have a lot of relatively limited players who are playing some limited football. I would like to see it at least look like a mid-level defense if they are mid-level players. I wonder if there aren't more adjustments Spag to be using. Again, I think the technique stuff, the tackling things. I mean, technique, like we're at the NFL level, the technique things you're talking about aren't wrap up. So some of that, I think, just falls directly to players. I think if you want to talk about defensive coaching, you talk about usage. You talk about the players they have out there at the times. But I at least see them trying different things across that defensive line where you have George Karlaftis lined up inside of Chris Jones, who's out on the edge. They're trying something there, and Gary mentioned this in his call also about how stale the coaching staff is. Joe Cullen is in his first year as the Chiefs' defensive line coach. It's not going great. I've heard nothing but good things about the hire, since the hire, all across the board. Not going great, that defensive line, but there is a new coach there. They made a coaching change. Is that better? With Brendan Daly now coaching linebackers and Cullen on the defensive line? Doesn't seem like that, but they did make a change there. I think that the Chiefs, over the Brett Veach era, have had the biggest cheat code you can ask for in roster construction. It's a quarterback who, first on a rookie contract, and even after the rookie contract, still on a good number for his value. The Chiefs got the quarterback who could raise the level of everything around him. They are still paying for the cost of Frank Clark. They're paying the cost of drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round. They're paying the cost of drafting 2 linebackers with second-round picks in back-to-back years. Because those are places where you should have invested in more valuable positions. Now, you can say, I'm glad they invested in those linebackers, because I think over the course of their rookie contracts, they'll get that value back. That's fine, but you're always picking from one bucket from the other. That's what that process always looks like. You are picking from the resources you had. You can only allocate them in so many places. What I would like would be for the Chiefs to cover some other element of their defense having an under-investment in them positionally, but that's what they've been doing at cornerback. So I remain frustrated at multiple levels. I think there's plenty of places you could point the finger, which has to at least include the players executing at suboptimal levels. Travis Kelce live here on Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City.
And Art just got to be able to keep, finding ways to get first downs and keep putting up points there through the end of the half there, and then the start of the second half. A lot of stuff to clean up on the offensive side, but I'm not going to complain about a divisional win up here in Denver, man. It's always a tough game. Honestly, right now the win means more than any of those stats. Everybody's kind of been talking about me getting those stats at some point this year, so it was on everybody's radar. But to come up here and get a win and be a part of the crowd that is the 10,000 crew, and Gates, Witten, Gonzalez, who am I forgetting here? Shannon Sharp, man. The Bronco himself, man. The main guy I was chasing today. Obviously all those guys are that's unbelievable company to be in, and I've been very fortunate that I've had the coaches and the players around me to be able to have as much success in the NFL as I have.
Travis, if my memory is correct, you've been a part of Patrick on 14 of these 15 divisional wins. I know Patrick is excellent most days. What makes it exceptional when on the road, when the opponent knows who you are?
Yeah, even more so towards the end of the season when a lot of guys or a lot of teams, scheme becomes even more important. And sometimes it's just the other team got us, or they're good defense, so they got us on a few, but it's the play after the play that I like to call kind of the extended play that makes Pat Mahomes the best quarterback in the National Football League. Even when you think you got us, we still got 1-5 back there making plays, and the wide receiver corps, the offensive line to be able to understand that this play might get extended, or when a play does get extended, we're capable of not only moving the ball downfield but getting big plays out of it.
On that same note, there, what was your reaction to Mahomes' no look? What do you want to call that? Flip to Derrick McKinnon.
I was in a position to block, so all I could think of was, man, let me get this last block so Jet can get in the end zone. But that kind of stuff, I mean, I don't want to say it doesn't amaze me, but at this point it's almost expected that he's going to do something magical out there.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
All right now.
There's Travis Kelce live from Denver here on Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City. Joshua Brisco, Beards McFly, Dylan Michaels are with you here through the rest of the evening. We'll eventually get you over to a huge Sunday night game as well, as you've heard Adam Teicher mention in his press conference questions. If the Dolphins beat the Chargers tonight, the Chiefs will clinch the AFC West once again. We'll bring you the second half of that game later on this evening here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. But in the meantime, it's us on the Sports Radio 810 WHB postgame show presented by CBD American Shaman. Free CBD samples every day. If you're on hold now, we'll get your calls whenever we come back. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes still to come as well here on Sports Radio 810.
You're listening to exclusive post-game coverage on Kansas City's home for the NFL. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Brought to you by Casey's own CBD American Shaman. Come on into your local Shaman store for a free sample of stress-sacking CBD. Everything is better with the feather.
WHB Kansas City.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's original craft vodka. Tito's is made from corn and naturally gluten-free. Visit us at titosvodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, Neighborly 80 proof. Crafted to be savored responsibly.
Hey, Kansas City. Good Sense here. You know, size really does matter when it comes to our sensational subs. The competition just can't stack up to our giant 16-inch whole sandwiches. Starting with our Baked Fresh Daily Pillowy Soft Bread, loaded with your choice of sliced-to-order meats and cheeses, and the freshest veggies in town. Why would you settle for second string when you can eat like a starter every day?
Get fast, reliable speeds at home and on the go with internet and mobile from Xfinity. Now through December 21st, new customers can get 1.2 gig internet plus Xfi Complete with unlimited data and Wi-Fi equipment included. It's just $50 a month for 2 full years with no annual contract when you add Xfinity Mobile with unlimited data at regular rates. Plus, get $200 back. Go online, call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular internet rates apply. Actual speeds vary.
Join the Zone, broadcasting live from Mod Pizza Lenexa for their grand opening at 87th Street and 435 in Sonoma Plaza on Wednesday, December 14th. The first 50 people in line will receive a free pizza, and everyone can enter a drawing to win free pizza for a year. Mod is where you and your friends can enjoy your very own custom artisan-style pizzas and salads. They're all about choices, made on demand. Everyone can select their favorites from over 40 toppings, 8 sauces, and dressings. Join the Zone this Wednesday at Mod Pizza in Lenexa for their special grand opening in Sonoma Plaza. All pizzas welcome.
Hey, Kansas City, it's Grunny here to wish you a happy holiday and a Merry Christmas. This year, if you're feeling charitable, stop by Roberts Robinson December 15th between 4 and 6 p.m. for their annual Good Samaritan Center gift card and toy drive. We'll have refreshments, raffle prizes, and of course, pictures with Santa. Get your picture with Santa and help children in need have a great Christmas by donating toys or gift cards. So come by December 15th between 4 and 6 p.m. at Roberts Robinson's in Excelsior Springs. Tell Nick Runny sent you.
The Whole Person connects people with disabilities to the resources they need to live independently and enjoy the many opportunities this great city provides. We're focused on creating a fully accessible community where opportunities and choices are not limited by disability. The Whole Person delivers programs and services that enhance the confidence of people with disabilities by providing the skills needed to live, learn, and work in the Kansas City Metro. The Whole Person serves both Missouri and Kansas. Learn more by visiting thewholeperson.org.
Ryan Radke here from Sunday Night Football on Westwood One. Join Mike Golick and me for a great AFC matchup this week with 2 playoff hopeful teams when the 6-6 Los Angeles Chargers host the 8-4 Miami Dolphins. It's been a roller coaster season for both teams. Both are looking to bounce back after losses last week. Don't miss any of the action. Dolphins at the Chargers on Sunday Night Football.
Right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Football season is underway, so now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back. If your first bet doesn't win, just sign up with the promo code WIN. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. So sign up today with promo code WIN for your no-sweat first bet. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of of the NFL.
Must be present in state where lawful to wager. 21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit fanduel.com/RG. Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. Arizona 1-800-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Indiana, Kansas 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghhelp.com. Louisiana 1-877-770-STOP. New York 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789. Wyoming, West Virginia 1-800-522-4700 or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net.
Mahomes, he'll just chuck it ahead, and it's caught. McKinnon has that next gear. Touchdown on a full sprint to the end zone. 56 yards on a toss from Mahomes.
How sweet that was! Andy's sweet play of the game is brought to you by Andy's Frozen Custard. Stop by any KC location for Travis Kelce's 87 and running concrete and help raise money for this worthy cause. 87 and running and Andy's Frozen Custard, the perfect option play for KC fans everywhere. Kind of feels like that touchdown was so long ago that any custard you had would have been melted long before the taste of it had left your mouth, because that play was unbelievable. But the Broncos scored last, and it felt sort of like the Broncos did nothing but score from that point on, and the Chiefs had trouble getting back into the end zone outside of Derrick McKinnon and Willie Gay Jr. being the ones to help get it done until they returned with the offense later in the game as well. A weird game that we have plenty of room to discuss. We'll take your calls as we do it. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Matt Derrick. We'll hear from all three of them, all three Chiefs superstars, later on in the show as well. Joshua Brisco with you here. And Patrick Mahomes and Frank Clark have both tweeted about this game already. Mahomes tweets, "Appreciate my team, man. Picked me up today." Hashtag Chiefs Kingdom. And Frank Clark tweets, "Terrible freaking game!" Exclamation point. We will get better as a collective. With late games in the season, it's imperative that we operate on the same page as one. Love. One is in all caps, and the next level is like a dash, and then the word love, like he's signing it with love. It's my interpretation, at least. Chiefs leaders and tweeters on both sides of the ball know that is not a way that the Chiefs are going to win a Super Bowl, even though it was the way they won the game, which could be a way that they win the AFC West. But I think that is going to really kind of be the coloration in your lenses as you look at this game. Are you looking at good enough to beat a good defense and an offense that looked better than it should have in Denver, even though a lot of those points came off turnovers? Or are you going to look at that and say, oh, hey, this is a team that has higher aspirations than the Denver Broncos, regardless if they play this way against the Bills, Bengals, Dolphins, maybe? That will be the end of their season. That's generally the lens that I look at it through. It doesn't always mean it's the right way to do it, but it's generally where I'm coming from. Had this mentioned earlier, Travis said that he wanted to respond to the idea that Andy Reid should have been over chewing out to Patrick Mahomes after the picks, as Gary mentioned early on. I just wanted to mention that at least because I think Travis is on the right side of the coin on that one. If I see Andy Reid ever screaming at Patrick Mahomes, that will be the story of that game because that's not how that relationship seems to work, nor is that something that Patrick Mahomes needs. Patrick Mahomes is aware of his mistakes and how damaging they are. He wasn't making them because he didn't think... Because he thought Andy Reid would be fine with it.
He's not Zach Wilson.
Yeah. And even I don't know that screaming at Zach Wilson would help. He's just Zach Wilson. Explaining how Patrick Mahomes made these mistakes today when we hear from him later on will be very interesting. But I am not here for Andy Reid needs to start yelling at Patrick Mahomes so he knows not to throw picks. Mahomes is aware of that. That part's not the concern. We'll keep it moving on the phone lines. Appreciate everybody waiting on hold, including George. George, you're on Sports Radio 810 WHB. What's up, George? How are you feeling?
Always happy to be here, guys.
I imagine you're just happy to get through this day of football.
Well, considering that Houston is your next opponent, and they gave everything they could to a Cowboys team who should have known better and should have done better, which is the whole point that I want to make about the Chiefs game.
Yep.
Is that Frank Clark had it right. He's angry that this game wasn't put away. He's angry that we sat there at 27-0 and let the Broncos get back into the game. And the key for me wasn't any of the interceptions, though that was important, wasn't the lack of non-factor, basically, of Kelce in the game. It was at the point, 27-0, it was a third down play, and instead of letting Pacheco run it like he just had before that play, 3rd and 2, they throw a ball, it's incomplete, they have to punt. That first punt is where they let the game go. And as you always say, everybody owns a piece of the problem. When is someone going to say, I'm going to be part of the solution? That's what Frank Clark is asking the rest of the team. I'm angry that no one is taking that responsibility on themselves. The team has to be better. The group has to be better. But where's that one individual who's going to take it and say, I'm part of the problem, I need to be part of the solution? Where are we going to hear that from?
George, I appreciate it because it's a good question, my friend. Glad you made it through the day successfully because that game in Texas seemed...
Trust me. You know, the Dallas-Houston game was down to the last stupid play of the game.
Yeah.
And they could have won it again. They could have socked it away 3 times earlier on the goal line.
You saw some. You might have had a little Groundhog Day with your football today, George. I appreciate it. I'll answer your question. And we'll open up another phone line. Appreciate you, George, as always. Frank Clark said it, and what I'm curious about is not just who will say it, but who can do it. Because Chris Jones can say it, and also Chris Jones did it. Because I think what George is saying there about, hey, who's going to be the person that makes the positive impact play? That's the question I've been asking for the last couple of weeks. Chris Jones did it today on multiple occasions. Willie Gay did it today on multiple occasions. George Karlaftis did it a couple of times. Jones and Gay, I think, obviously Gay has the pick 6. Jones has a few of those game record plays. That's what, legit playmakers can do for you in turning the tides of a game. The Chiefs have a lot of guys kind of in that Juan Thornhill category where he was really bad last week and it didn't seem great today. We'll see when we can, get the all-22 and actually see the secondary more clearly. But you have a lot of guys who have non-noteworthy days. You have some guys who have legit bad days. Ultimately, I think that if you can hold steady, you need peaks from your superstars. And the Chiefs right now are looking like an EKG. I mean, we are all over the place here on the ups and downs. And I don't think the personnel is going to change meaningfully. I don't think Leo Chanel is going to solve anything. So you're a flawed team that is... Maybe this is what it looks like to be quote-unquote reloading. And the good news, I think Mick Schaefer tweeted this already and really nailed it if I am properly crediting Mick on this. But the Chiefs are a flawed team with problems who could totally win the Super Bowl because the rest of the league is filled with flawed teams with problems. The Eagles right now might be the exception there. But the Bills have played close games against bad teams. The entire AFC East has had those moments. The Bengals have had those moments. It's a complicated sport. It's just the Chiefs aren't going to make any of it look terribly easy, it seems. Next up, we got Ryan on Sports Radio 810 WHB. What's up, Ryan? How you feeling?
Well, not too bad. Everybody's freaking out, right?
Panicking.
Bucker was perfect today.
I love that you find the positives.
See, you got to.
You've got
to. Hey, probably Denver's Super Bowl. I mean, they were all clapping when they were down by 14 or 13, whenever they got back to 14, 27, whatever it was, 27-0. Yeah, Chiefs got to figure out a way to put those away. I think you go back to running the ball. Jared McKinnon. You got to switch. Like we were talking about last week, got to learn how to adjust. And I'm not saying that we don't. I don't know who's stopping them from running the ball a little bit more. I'm not even saying just run the clock, of course. What I'm afraid of, though, in all reality, people are talking about coaches. I'm not worried about the defense at all. I mean, Spagnuolo does not worry me at all. Who else are you going to get?
Yeah,
Nobody.
I also think
so I don't want to. I don't want to hear it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think he's doing good. He's won. How many Super Bowls has he won? One, right? Or two.
So 2 total. Yeah, I think that's right.
That's 2 Super Bowls. That's more than 80. I mean, what are we doing here? And I'm starting to get more worked up the more I talk about it, because I can't take the Chiefs fans keep doing the overreaction kind of thing. They will. We'll be all right. Here's what I'll say. What I guess down the road in 1 or 2 years, when does it get to the point where Patrick's going to be the one that's the decision decider? He's the one that's calling the plays. Instead of arguing with the players on the side, he's telling you to get the ball, get the play in. Get the play in. And we're kind of like Jordan, all right? So is Andy Reid the Phil Jackson? Who knows? But when he's telling you to get the play in, do we trust Patrick yet enough to do what he's seeing, right, because he's on the field? Or do we who is – so when we go over to the sideline, we're not going to keep going for it. I think that's a good call at the earlier part of the game. Like going for the field goal. Patrick wanted to go for it. Andy Reid saying, come over here, sit down. Not sit down, but, it's a long game. We're playing the Broncos and such like that. That's a good decision at that point in the game. But as it goes on, who's the person that's telling Patrick no? Because it's going to get to the point where we talk about how much money he does make. And he's going to be it's going to get to the point where he's like a Peyton Manning, where he is going to be the deciding factor. And it is weird whenever you see him wanting to call a play and not getting his way. And he doesn't throw a fit or anything like that. He doesn't do that. I'm just saying, he wants to go, and is it him just overdoing it or not? But I think we've got a W today. I'm not going to go over it. We're going deep into that. But it is interesting to see when we're talking about coaching and stuff like that. It's always interesting when you see Patrick come over and he doesn't get his way. Like, somebody's going to eventually have to argue with that a little bit and know why he's not getting that way. I don't know. I'm probably going too deep. We got a W. I don't give a shit. So, sorry. Hey, sorry about it. We won. Go Chiefs. Bye.
Appreciate it, Ryan. I don't know if the apology was for the absolutely filthy language. We dumped it. We're all right. I think it's an interesting question, Ryan. I really do. I was listening to the ESPN Daily podcast. I think it was from Monday last week. I was a couple days behind. But it was the Andrew Luck podcast with Pablo Torre talking to Seth Wickersham, who wrote the big story on Andrew Luck, kind of the first sort of look at what his life is and what his retirement was like since he walked away. The part of it that I think is interesting, I'm not predicting Patrick Mahomes' early retirement. Take a deep breath. But what I thought was kind of interesting was they talked about how, Peyton Manning really ran the building in Indianapolis. And then when he got hurt and they cut him and they drafted Andrew Luck, they really expected Andrew Luck to run the building the same way, despite him not really being that way at Stanford. Not really expecting to be that way as a day one, number 1 overall draft pick, but that was sort of forced on him. I think that once Andy Reid retires, whenever that is, I think it's going to be Patrick Mahomes' team first, and then the head coach's team second, if that's Eric Bieniemy or Matt Nagy or Joe Blameyer or someone who's not on the staff that I'm not currently thinking of. And I think right now, Andy Reid says he has 51% of the vote. When you have 51% of the vote, it means you have 100% of the deciding sway. If it's 51-49, you win. So you really have 100% of the vote. You're taking suggestions, but it's Andy Reid's final call. I think he partially does that as an accountability thing. I think he partially does that because he is Andy Reid and this is his team. I think that's been beneficial to Patrick Mahomes in lots of ways, to step into an organization that was not asking him to immediately be the savior, that had a head coach, that had established a culture here, that does have a way of running things. But I think that's just the answer to the question Ryan is asking, and I imagine that whoever it is that's coaching this team next, it will be Patrick Mahomes' team, and he will want to have a head coach. He should not be the head coach and the play caller and the quarterback. Frankly, he should not be the play caller. But I would like for Patrick Mahomes to have, maybe it becomes 50-50. Maybe Patrick Mahomes ends up with the 51. But I think it's an interesting question about the future of where this team goes. I think it's still probably years away, but I think it's an interesting angle at it. Next up, we got Kyle on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Kyle, how you feeling?
Hey, Josh. Hey, thank you for taking my call, and I like you guys. I like you guys as always. And by the way, I want to give a huge shout out to you and all of the 810 crew. You guys do a great job.
Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate that.
My 3 points I want to make here real quick is I'm not going to blame all of this game on the defense tonight because the offense put the defense in bad situations. Mahomes threw, I believe, 2 picks on the Broncos side of the field. Yeah. So and you're just asking too much for the defense for that. So that's the 2 touchdowns where Russell Wilson. But overall, I thought the defense did an okay job. The offense has put the defense in bad situations. So that's my first point I want to make. Second point I want to make is I think Travis Kelce and the guys are going to be fine. I'm not going to be too much worried about. But this game, you have a 27-0 lead, and you let that almost slip that away. I mean, a win's a win. You're absolutely right. But it's just hard to watch a 27-0 lead turn into a 6-point win. You have to do a better job holding on to the lead. And the Chiefs did that in the AFC Championship game last year. So that's got to be corrected, is hold on to big leads like that. Thirdly, the third point I want to make is I don't – what was the personal foul call on Frank Clark?
I never saw it. They never showed a replay.
No, and that's another frustrating thing. Okay, so if you're going to call a penalty, I think us, the fans, should know what happened.
Absolutely.
Because that's just excuse my language, but that's BS, if you ask me. That it's uncalled for. I'll listen off the air, Josh, and I'm sorry for rambling, but thank you for taking my call.
You're good, man. I appreciate you saying, I apologize for the language, BS. That you abbreviated, and that's the important part, man. I appreciate that very much. This is a good point, and something that I neglected to mention sooner. I really should have. My criticisms of the defense in this game are going to stand on what we've talked about so far, but it is 100% absolutely fair to say that the offense put the defense in bad positions today. That is absolutely fair and true and valid. The defense got short fields to defend after those 2 early interceptions especially, and the defense scored 6 points of their own on the pick 6. They scored 6 points, and then they gave up a 4-play, 42-yard drive on the touchdown after the first pick and a 7-play, 60-yard drive on the second one. That second one is a little harder to swallow. I would have been much more willing, if Mahomes doesn't throw that pick, it doesn't matter. I would have been much more willing to write off that first one as really being the offense's fault. And again, that comes after they scored their own touchdown defensively. I do think that's fair. And I also still think it's fair to expect more of the defense in that process. But really good call there, Kyle. I think that's a lot of very fair observations. One more call before we take a quick timeout. Next up, we got Dan. Dan, how you feeling after 34-28 Chiefs?
I feel great. Joshua, even though the game got a little too close. You know, when the Willie Gay made that interception off of Russell Wilson 27-0, I saw Kelce relaxing there on the sideline. I was relaxing too. I thought the game was over. But they asked Andy after the game, why when it was 27-0, why not run it a couple of times? I don't mind Patrick throwing it, but run it ball. You're up 27. I would have done that too. But anyway, a win's a win, and I'm watching the Dolphins knock off the Chargers and win the AFC West for 7 straight years because David Carr said in NFL Network this would be the Chargers division. Take care of yourself, Joshua. Let's take care of the Texans.
Dan, stay on the line for me real quick, my friend. Appreciate you calling in pretty much every single week. We lost Dan. Dan, call back in and get a hold of Beards because I want to make you our Green Grass Cattle Co. caller of the week. Dan always brings the good energy, good takes there as well. Also, good tastes from Green Grass Cattle Co. It's all brought to you by Green Grass Cattle Company. Visit their store in Weston, Missouri, off 45 Highway, less than a mile from the ranch, or order online at greengrasscattleco.com, and they'll deliver right to your door. Locally owned and operated right there in Weston, Missouri. Best practices, best cattle, best overall experience for the cattle, best overall product for you. Visit them online again at greengrasscattleco.com, and they'll deliver right to you. We're going to send some to Dan as well, if we can get him back on the line. Call back in, Dan. You're always so quick with the trigger to get back on the phone lines. There's free beef waiting for you now. Got to call back in. Chiefs could use a little more beef of their own today, but enough to get it done over the Broncos. Not the dominant AFC West victory you'd like to see, but enough for the time being. We'll talk about it much more on the other side of the break. Chiefs 34, Broncos 28 in a stressful victory in the AFC West. Joshua Brisco, Bears McFly, Dylan Michaels bringing it to you here. It's all brought to you by CBD American Shaman. Free CBD samples every day.
You're listening to exclusive post-game coverage on Kansas City's home for the NFL. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Brought to you by Casey's own CBD American Shaman. Come on into your local shaman store for a free sample of stress-sacking CBD. Everything is better with the feather.
Get ready for Monday Night Football with the KC Legends Show, hosted by Bill Moss, live from Barstool Sportsbook inside Hollywood Casino. Bill's special guest this week is former Chiefs quarterback Tony Adams. They'll break down the Chiefs and Broncos, look ahead to the rest of the regular season, and get you ready for the Patriots and Cardinals on Monday Night Football. There's no better place than Barstool Sportsbook inside Hollywood Casino to place your bets. Featuring 16 betting kiosks, 5 betting windows, and 45 HD TVs. Come check it out with the KC Legends Show tonight at 6 on ESPN Kansas City 94.5 FM.
You don't have to go through yet another year with that knee pain or back pain. People with chronic joint pain are getting real lasting relief from QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in advanced regenerative medicine. Their unique protocols using healing agents from your own body to target aching joints, repairing and restoring damaged tissue, so you can move again with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Got shoulder pain, excruciating hip pain? If you have any arthritis pain or lingering pain from an injury, don't let them operate on you or give you more steroids. And just say no to the pain pills. Call QC Kinetics and see if their life-changing, all-natural treatments can get you living your best life in the new year. I'm telling you, people are raving about these treatments. This is the future of joint pain management, and appointments are available as soon as next week. Make 2023 the year you say goodbye to joint pain. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. 816-412-6299. All 435 in State Line and in Gladstone. 816-412-6299. QC Kinetics.
When you need a fence, call Slagle Fence. It all started a decade ago, one fence at a time. Two small-town Kansas brothers decided that they could build a better fence at a reasonable price. Today, Slagle Fence has grown to be one of the largest residential fence installers covering the entire KC Metro. Slagle installs it all, wood to ornamental steel to vinyl. No job is too large, and it will look great too. Call today for a free estimate, 816-863-6159 or slaglefence.com.
Receding hairlines, bald spots, thinning hair, many try medications, foams, special shampoos, or supplements. But the best method for restoring your hair is simple: transferring your own hair follicles to the places you need them. I'm Dr. Jeff Markey with Ascentus Plastic Surgery. We perform hair transplants with cutting-edge ARTIST robotics to get the single best result for each patient with the least amount of downtime. Contact Ascentus Hair Restoration or visit kansascityhairtransplant.com for a free consultation. Surgical precision with hair restoration performed by plastic surgeons only at Ascentus Hair Restoration.
Where'd you get that grin? Right above your chin.
I love fall, and I love the taste of s'mores around a campfire. So this season, I made them into our new Andy's Frozen Custard S'mores Jackhammer. It's fresh vanilla frozen custard blended with chocolatey hot fudge, crunchy graham cracker, and fluffy marshmallow. Roasty, toasty good.
With a smile at Andy's, top your day. With a smile at Andy's, top your day.
Looking for fun and exciting gifts this holiday season? Sandlot Goods, KC's only hat manufacturer, has you covered. With a variety of hats, apparel, drink sweaters, and pennants, you can shop local, high-quality bundles for your friends and family at sandlotgoods.com and all made in KC marketplaces.
Hey, it's Grunny here for my friends at CBD American Shaman. Do you struggle with pain, sleep, anxiety, or lack of energy? Well, who doesn't? Visit your local CBD American Shaman and let them educate you on the benefits of the highest quality hemp oil available. And when the Kansas City football team scores big, you score big too. If Kansas City puts up 50, that's right, it's 50% off your order of $100 or more the day after the game. That's huge savings. CBD American Shaman. Life is better with the feather.
Get fast, reliable speeds at home and on the go with internet and mobile from Xfinity. Now through December 21st, new customers can get 1.2 gig internet plus Xfi Complete with unlimited data and Wi-Fi equipment included. It's just $50 a month for 2 full years with no annual contract when you add Xfinity Mobile with unlimited data at regular rates. Plus, get $200 back. Go online, call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular internet rates apply. Actual speeds vary.
Motion man Hinton. Fake it. Wilson. Intercepted. Picked off by Willie Gay. And Gay is going to take it all the way. Touchdown, Kansas City. And that's Denver's season in a nutshell.
It wasn't all good for the Chiefs defense, but it certainly started that way, and it wasn't always the Denver season in a nutshell, but it certainly was on that play. That was some great defense, though, from Willie Gay Jr. If you need a little more fence in your life, why not try Schlegel Fence? When you need a fence, call Schlegel Fence. Schlegel Fence installs it all, from wood to ornamental steel to vinyl to chain link. No job is too large, and it'll look great, too. Schedule your free estimate by going to schlegelfence.com or call 816-863-6159. It is funny to listen to those highlights. It feels like listening to highlights from an entirely different team ago, but the Chiefs defense made one huge play there. They made some good plays over the rest of the game as well. Frankly, it needed to, because if it would have been a little bit worse, this game might have ended a little bit worse than it did. Ultimately, though, the Chiefs are victorious in a game that just isn't all that much fun to talk about. I'm going to clear out a bunch of phone calls here. Then we'll get Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes as well. I'm going to read you one tweet first before I hit the phones again, because sometimes after a game like this, I really do genuinely, like, I want to look around and figure out the places where maybe I'm on an island and figure out why, or to see if there are other people whose opinions I respect that are leaning one direction or another. Because I think it's good to have other perspectives, just to make sure you're not totally seeing something wrong or whatever. And there are a handful of times where I try to kind of throttle back or readjust my what I'm seeing on the fly, and then I see somebody else give an opinion. And in this case, it's from Mitchell Schwartz. Here's the point on Mitchell Schwartz. I think he is tremendously unlikely to be an overreactor. He's actually played in games like this. He has played in Denver many a time. He knows Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes incredibly well, Eric Bieniemy as well. I'm sure he knows Spags well, not on his side of the ball, obviously, in his playing days. But I think Mitchell Schwartz is willing to be critical, but is not going to do it just for the sake of being critical. And I think he knows what's going on in that building, obviously. So I think he's a pretty good mile marker. And if I disagree with him, I need to explain my thinking, right? Anyway, I go through that process sometimes, just seeing where the perspectives pop up from and how I can use that to be a little more informed from a different angle. And here's what Mitchell Schwartz tweeted about an hour ago. He said, let's start with the positives. A win, 27-0 start, crazy Pat TD, and a physical 4-minute drive against a good defense. The negatives? Everything else? I think we all thought this would be the game where we dominate start to finish. Sure looked that way early. What do you think? End tweet from Mitchell Schwartz. The point of me giving you my whole, how I do and don't look for other perspectives or whatever, and reading you that tweet and telling you what I think about Mitchell Schwartz, is if that's his reaction, I don't think we are overreacting to where the Chiefs did, at least to some extent, disappoint in this game. And I think that's where a lot of the criticism of the defense really burns. I think that's where the issues with Mahomes' picks really come through. It was 27-0. It looked like a dominant performance at pretty much all angles. Frank Clark's already said a terrible freaking game, as I read you earlier. But this looked like it was going to be the game that could have ended with what the Chiefs could have named the score. 27-0, 37-0, 45-0, 50-2. I mean, who knows, right? We could have gotten a Beard score. Could have been anything they wanted to set the score to. That's how it felt through the majority of that first half. And I think if you're the Chiefs, you want to finish a game that way. You want to go out there and sun a team that you haven't seen yet this season in your own division who you don't care for very much. So that's how you can end up having a quote-unquote disappointing win. On the other side, Frank Clark says, terrible freaking game. Juan Thornhill just tweeted, no matter how you get a dub, a win, a W, he writes, no matter how you get a W, it is all that matters. 1-0 each week, hashtag Chiefs Kingdom. Different players have different ways of working through all of this. Last week, we saw Thornhill tweet about how fans get really critical after losses, and Joshua Williams tweeted that it was on him and he had to be better. You'll find different guys taking different approaches. I think they're always at least kind of interesting to know. Back to the phones. If you're on hold right now, we'll try to get your call in before we take our next time out, starting with Paul. Paul, appreciate you waiting on hold, my friend. What's up? You're on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hey, guys, that win to me is like seeing your ex-girlfriend and thinking, man, she's looking pretty good. Then all of a sudden you're like, God, my life was miserable. I got to get the hell out of here. So, that's the way I feel about today's win. So, a couple of serious points. I thought the 2 interceptions to the middle of the field, the 7 to 10 yard range, I thought Denver knew that was coming. They looked like that rookie knew that Kelce is going in the middle. And I think, where's the guy from the Giants? Has he left town already? Where's he at? It just seems like we're going to Kelce, that 7 to 10 yard range in the middle, and they knew it was coming. They just sat on Surtain and that rookie. And then the other thing is, guys, when we go up against the number one receiver, Judy, Diggs, Chase, they've got to scheme. They got to do something. I know we got some young guys out there, but they've got to do something because as we move forward, that's going to be an Achilles heel for us. They don't get tactically smarter. And the 2 running backs we got, McKinnon, man, let's get those horses. Let's do the Dallas thing. Let's ride those guys a little bit, take a little pressure until we get these wide-eyes because we can't go vertical right now, it seems like.
Yeah. Paul, sorry. No, sorry, man. I was just sitting here like, yeah, Paul's cooking right now. I like what Paul's brought to the table, so I was letting you host the show for me. I'll answer you off air, Paul. Appreciate the call as always.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
That's good stuff, man. I'm with you on that. Especially the idea of, hey, run those running backs until that vertical game comes back some. That I've talked a lot, and I think I'm stealing this phrase from the Athletic Football Show because I'm constantly stealing from them. They do incredible work over there. But the idea of the easy button, I mentioned at the very top of the show, you mentioned the guy from New York, very top of the show, I mentioned that this offense misses Mecole Hardman and Kadarius Toney, not even just because they're field stretchers. Like that vertical game is going to be more of an MVS thing because Hardman's ball tracking ability isn't that of Tyreek Hill. That's okay. He's an excellent player, does a lot of things really well. Kadarius Toney, still to be seen what he does in terms of going deep, but like what those guys can do in space to stretch a defense can make the rest of your offense work a little more smoothly. I think that's the kind of fundamental theory behind this evolution of the Chiefs offense. Maybe even behind a West Coast offense with that kind of speed. That's oversimplifying it, but work with me here. The idea that the Broncos were ready for those picks, they knew that something was coming over there. Really interesting. Not something that I think is impossible. The Broncos, even with the first-year defensive coordinator, as we've talked, like, hey, if you really hate Steve Spagnuolo, which it's not where I'm starting with any of this, but if you want to fire Spags, you got to find somebody better than him to hire. Broncos have a first-year defensive coordinator over there who does seem to have his defense ready to go. Also, that defense is more talented than the Chiefs' defense is. That's the measure of GM and team structure and allocation of resources and coaching and execution and all of that. It's the reason there's no simple answer to any of this, and thank God for it, because if there are simple answers to all of this, this entire sports talk radio platform, sports talk media altogether would not be nearly as fun, because we could have different answers to different results with the same pieces to start with. It's up to your interpretation. But the Broncos seem pretty well coached over there with all that talent they have. And if they were well coached and then ready to make the play, that's how you punish a good offense. And I do wish the Chiefs had a little more of that on a more regular basis. I say that on a day where Willie Gay brought a pick six back and where Chris Jones basically threw an interception for himself with that hit he put on And then L'Jarius Sneed catches it down the field. Trent McDuffie should have had a pick right at the beginning of the game. That drive ended without points anyway, but it would have been nice. Interesting stuff there, and I think worth keeping in mind. Next up, we go to Butch. Butch, you're on 810. What's up, man?
Gentlemen, how about those Chiefs?
How about them, Butch?
Hey, oh my goodness gracious. Look, the win is we're the most front-running fan base ever. And that's okay. I'm okay with it. I sat there and actually thought for a second that the Chiefs were going to be 27 points better than the Denver Broncos, and they're not. But you know how fun that is to be disappointed that that's not the case? Mm-hmm. Either way, I went into this game before the game. My prediction was that it'd be a close win for the Chiefs, but it'd be in the opposite direction. Offense would struggle, going up against good defense, right? And then you break away later. It just happened in reverse, and it happened in odd ways. So I think that's kind of what Mitchell Schwartz is getting at. But on the flip side of it, the bad. So you have the good there, right? Mm-hmm. Where the offense actually is able to do things against a very good defense. They made a couple of boneheaded mistakes. That happens. The flip side of it, the bad, man, I don't know. The contract year is no longer undefeated. I'm sorry, Juan, because you might have to get up out of here. Gee, I've never seen somebody play this bad in a position where they'd be able to get so much money. Either way, they're this close, right? They're this close to none of this mattering at all. This close. But we're seeing it's tough because we see, even in a division game, we see how they're going to potentially lose in the playoffs. Because you can't be the team that has the worst turnover differential in the playoffs and expect to beat really good teams. That's just not going to happen. Yep. They still have time, whatever. It was a great division win. If there were ever going to be a game where Denver was going to put up a fight, it was going to be this one in Denver. Next time, I fully expect to splatter them, and that will happen. Save the flavor one. It's just a good win. Take it and go.
Appreciate it as always, Butch. Yeah, the Chiefs see this team again in 2 weeks? 3? Something like that? Maybe Melvin Gordon's out there for that game. Just ride him for 60 minutes. That'd be kind of funny. 3 games out for both the Broncos and Chiefs. Yeah, 'cause it's Texans, Seahawks, and then Broncos again for Kansas City. Next up here, we've got Jay. Jay, you're on Sports Radio 810. What's up, Jay?
Hey, thanks for taking a call. Love your post game.
Thank you.
Yet again, though, it's another forgettable and uninspired win by this Chiefs team. I think a year down the road, we're not even going to remember that we played this game, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But here's my complaint. It's the offense seems like they just kind of sputter. Yeah. And we've seen this for weeks now, even against the sorry Rams. And so maybe this is what happens when you continue to strip Mahomes from all of his weapons. But at some point, you've got to get some continuity with these receivers. And we've been living on this idea that, okay, Juju's going to go sign somewhere else, and he'll sign somewhere else, and et cetera. Sammy Watkins, who I know I wouldn't take him right now, but he signed somewhere else. We can't expect Mahomes to be a magician, and being a quarterback is all about timing and rhythm and all those things when he's got new dance partners as wide receivers every year. And so I think that's what bothers me when I look ahead to the long-term future of this organization and him. And secondly, Andy Reid just does not step on someone's throat, does he? Mm-hmm. Because that will bite you in the playoffs. We've already seen it in the past, even before Mahomes was a Chief. And I think that's what's so frustrating about today. It's just the same. And listen, Andy Reid's a top 3 coach, right? Mm-hmm. But that's his biggest flaw right now is he doesn't step on the gas when he's got the lead like Bill Belichick did. And you could even say that was a bit of a complaint last week.
Yeah.
And on a much more microcosmic scale. It was 4th and 3. I can lose a game as a Chiefs fan if Mahomes is at quarterback and he lost it, right?
Yep.
I can't swallow a loss when it's with Harrison Butker's foot or my defense is on the field.
Yep.
And regardless, Andy Reid just hasn't figured that out yet. But anyway, I love your show and looking forward to the playoff run here. Thanks for taking the call.
Jay, I appreciate that. I have virtually nothing to add on that last point because, I think killer instinct or stepping on the throat or whatever oftentimes is just what people say when the offense doesn't do enough. And they didn't keep pushing it. Well, maybe the defense adjusted. Where I think that criticism is fair is in 4th and short Are you willing to have the possibility that you are going to get turned away here, but it is going to come with Patrick Mahomes on the field, which also means you have the ability to put the game away here? That part of it is infuriating to me. I think, Jay, I think you said that already very well. I want to mention the wide receiver continuity thing. I think it's very interesting. Here is the place where I will say the knife's edge this will sit on for me. If this is the year where the Chiefs have wide receiver overhaul because they trade Tyreek Hill and they bring in a bunch of new guys, which started with bringing in Juju, and then it was I think it was Juju first and then MVS. It doesn't really matter, but it's bringing in those guys as you ship out Tyreek Hill, and it's drafting Sky Moore, and then it's trading for Kadarius Toney, while it's also adding Justin Watson and losing McCole Hardman for 4 games late in the season. Even if you leave Hardman in, though, pre-injury. That is a ton of turnover. If next year they lose Juju and they lose Watson, et cetera, I think this is a trend, and then I think it's a problem. If this is the year where you have a lot of turnover and they keep MVS around, they keep Watson around, they will keep Toney, they will keep Sky Moore, even if they lose McCole Hardman, Juju is the one that I really think could go either way. But I think there would be some continuity again with this group going in the next year, where this year was the reset. But you mentioned Sammy Watkins, and just generally trying to figure out how you want to weaponize those elements around Patrick Mahomes. I think that's something to keep an eye on that I will be thinking about this entire offseason. And part of it, I think, is the guys who have stepped in. MVS will give you a couple of those plays where you see his skills really come through, but he has not been any sort of overwhelming weapon. He's kind of a get it when it's there guy, it seems like, for the most part. He can win some one-on-ones every once in a while. A good weapon, but not an overwhelming one. Juju, I think, is excellent. He catches pretty much anything you get to him. He'll win one-on-one matchups every once in a while. Really good possession receiver. Great after the catch. Isn't necessarily stressing out defenses, though, I imagine. Travis Kelce is the guy that stresses out defenses, but you know the range he'll attack you in, at least, like the depth of the field. That's why I keep mentioning I think this team misses McCole Hardman and Kadarius Toney and the skill sets they bring. I didn't see a lot of motion today, at least not the stuff that Sky Moore was running a little bit of after Hardman's injury. That element of the offense is missing. The speed that it was Tyreek Hill and McCole Hardman, and now it's McCole Hardman and Kadarius Toney. Not all of Tyreek Hill altogether. Of course, that would be nice. But just that specific parts of the game that he and Hardman and Toney share the skill set of, I think the offense misses those guys. We'll see if this ends up being a trend of a lot of one-year deals and overhauling, or if they're trying to build that foundation. We also have not seen Sky Moore become a consistent part of this offense on a regular basis. That is, I don't even know if it's concerning to me in the long haul. It is concerning to me, I guess, in the short term. I'll give you that. Sky Moore's level of involvement is concerning in the 2022 sense. Next up, we go to Jake. Jake, you're on Sports Radio 810 WHB. What's up, Jake?
Hey, how's it going? Just moved to Maryland about a year ago, so I listened to the 810 app to keep my connection with KC.
I appreciate that,
Thanks,
Jake.
guys.
That's great to hear.
All right, I'm going to start with the positives first. There's been a lot of nitpicking and complaining, which I understand, but let's start with the positives.
Sure.
One, this is like the long game, but what if Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett played and coached just good enough to stick around for one more year? That would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I think Russ will definitely be there. We'll see on Hackett, but yeah, I wouldn't mind a little hot streak for them. Sure.
Second, I give my game ball to Trey Smith.
Mm-hmm.
He was phenomenal tonight. And to flip to the negatives, is the game slowly passing Steve Spagnuolo and Andy Reid by?
I'm not sure. I think it's a bit strong, but I want to hear where you're laying it out, and then I'll tell you what I think. Lay it out for me.
I would say the decision-making on fourth down.
Deeply frustrating.
And to kick field goals and punt more than we should. And then Spagnuolo, I think everyone has a blueprint on how to play him. He blitzes heavy, and I don't think it would kill him to drop more people in coverage and get a coverage sack every once in a while.
Yeah, I think I think that's very interesting.
That's all I got. I'll listen off the air. Thanks, guys.
Jake, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I just want to make sure you had fired out the remainder in the chamber there, because I think those are at least the right places to look whenever we talk about, again, I think when we talk about coaching and then it becomes about tackling, I think we lose the plot a little bit on like what you're actually looking for coaches to do differently from one guy to the other. I think when you go to some of the schematics, some of the specifics that Jake mentioned there, I think there's something to it. I do think Andy Reid, I don't want to say the game was passing him by. I think he is behind the curve on letting Patrick Mahomes stay on the field on 4th and short as opposed to Harrison Butker and Tommy Townsend. The Chiefs are all right in the grander scope of the league in terms of going for it when they should. I haven't seen the most recent numbers on that, but they over the Andy Reid era, they've generally been pretty good there. They've been great on first down passing usage. But on 4th downs, even when they're in go situations, at least most of the like generic models aren't accounting for who your quarterback is or who your tight end is or how often your quarterback finds that tight end 4 yards downfield automatically on a regular basis. So I think Andy Reid is leaving meat on the bone, if you will. When you quote-unquote take the points, I'm going to start saying you're leaving meat on the bone. You're leaving points on the board. I do think Andy Reid is not maximizing his own team in that regard. I wonder, and I would need to see more information on this, I wonder if Steve Spagnuolo has become predictable. That's a question I would hear out much more than I would hear like, oh, Spag sucks and they don't tackle. But has there been a predictability in this Chiefs defense? I could see that. I also, here's what I would make my specific concern to what I think is generally kind of a fun idea. Hey, blitz a little less, drop a little more, throw something different out there. What do you think will happen if the Chiefs only rush 3 or only rush 4? That would be my honest question. If they honestly, rushing 3 might be the way to do it because Chris Jones is going to have to be at a double team regardless. So if you want to just put Clark, Karlaftis, and Chris Jones out there to try to just punch dudes, or maybe you put Jones on the edge and throw Colin Saunders in the middle and try some of that, I'd be interested in seeing it. Because the Chiefs blitzing these last couple of games has not appeared to be terribly effective when they have gone into that. Something to it. When the Chiefs rush 4, they lose. Unless Chris Jones beats the double team. And when you have all those rookie corners that have their own issues and just learning curves, you leave them on an island, and that might not be the place that you actually do win the matchup. So you put your chips in on the pressure to give your secondary the chance, as opposed to putting your chips in on the secondary to just try to hang on for dear life for a few seconds to give your pass rush a chance. The pass rush speeds up the clock on the play. The coverage is holding on for dear life. I understand why you would prefer the pressure to the coverage specifically with this group, but those results aren't really paying the dividends you'd like to see defensively, so it becomes a very fair question. I went to this last week, and it's a little bit unfair. But man, I just wish Breeland Speaks would have been good. Frankly, even if Chris, I didn't love the trade at the time. If Frank Clark would have been the guy the Chiefs expected over the life of his contract, this whole conversation's totally different. And this might be another place where you could fairly criticize Steve Spagnuolo. You say, hey, if you need 2 elite or 1 elite and 1 very, very good pass rusher to have a good defense, you need to have a better setup because we can't just always bless you with that. If I said, well, look, give Andy Reid Tyreek Hill back. Well, if you need Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes to have a good offense, so I could come up with a good offense for those three guys. I think that would be a fair critique if that is the case. I wish this team could get pressure with any consistency, because then I think we'd be having completely different conversations about this group. I think that's maybe where the hesitance in my Spags criticism even comes from, is because if they just had a second consistent pass rusher, I think it all feels different. Or even if they just had a bunch of guys who could, as a unit, get there consistently enough, I think the conversation feels very different. But they don't, so it's not, and it's frustrating. I'm Joshua Brisco, Beers McFly on the other side of the glass. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes coming up next here in the show. In the meantime, when Kansas City scores, you score big at your local CBD American Shaman. Our team's score is your % off, and they scored 34 points tonight, so you get 34% off all day tomorrow on orders of $100 or more. CBD American Shaman, life is better with the feather. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes coming up next. Beard, what you got?
Henry Winkler has tweeted at Patrick Mahomes. He says, on all caps, congratulations. And little caps to you and the team.
If Henry Winkler's happy, we can all be happy.
You're listening to exclusive post-game coverage on Kansas City's home for the NFL. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Brought to you by Casey's own CBD American Shaman. Come on into your local Shaman store for a free sample of stress-sacking CBD. Everything is better with the feather.
Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith, Pro Football Hall of Famer and 3-time champion. Trust me, I know about joint pain.
Pro Football's all-time leading rusher Emmitt Smith talks about chronic joint pain and exciting new regenerative treatments from QC Kinetics.
I know what it's like to fight through pain, but now, you and I, we have help. QC Kinetics.
QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in advanced, all-natural regenerative medicine that can give you lasting relief with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Do you suffer with constant pain from arthritis or injury? Pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, or lower back? Don't assume steroids, pain meds, and surgery are your only options. Regenerative, restorative, natural solutions are now available.
Don't let your joint pain keep you from doing the things you love.
Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation and learn how regenerative medicine can repair and restore damaged joint tissue.
Make the call to QC Kinetics. Tell them Emmitt Smith sent you.
Call QC Kinetics, 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. 816-412-6299.
In the pursuit of our passions, there's no finish line. For those who chase new adventures, bigger goals, unforgettable moments, once-in-a-lifetime trophies, Bushnell innovates the widest range of products for you. Because just like you, we are built for the pursuit.
Hey, Kansas City, Stephen St. John here from my great friends at Kansas City Credit Union. For more information about becoming a member, go to kansascitycreditunion.com/810sports for more info. You could also get more information about the 12-12-12 holiday loan from Kansas City Credit Union. They have 3 convenient locations in the Kansas City area, and I'm a member at Kansas City Credit Union. You should be too. Go to kansascitycreditunion.com/810sports.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's original craft vodka. In 1995, Tito Beveridge built his very own distillery and put his life savings into it. Since then, he's won the unanimous Judges' Choice Double Gold Medal at the World Spirits Competition, the Chairman's Trophy for World's Best Vodka Tonic, and many others. Tito's Handmade Vodka is still made on the same land where he started it all in Austin, Texas. Distilled from corn and gluten-free. Visit us at titosvodka.com for recipes, videos, and more. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof. Crafted to be savored responsibly. It's time to take the whole family straight to Andy's Frozen Custard. They have this incredible new s'mores jackhammer. Amazing fresh vanilla frozen custard blended with chocolatey melted hot fudge and the crunchiest, crumbliest graham crackers. Andy's Frozen Custard, the world's finest. It's the best way to top your day with a smile.
Join the best in banking when you open your account with Central Bank. We're rooted in legendary customer service and have the tools to make banking easy. Our award-winning mobile app has more than 30,000 reviews and a 4.9 star rating. Experience it for yourself and see why our customers love it. We can't wait to show you how awesome it is to bank with us. Get started by visiting centralbank.net/betterbanking. Central Bank, strong roots, endless possibilities. Member FDIC.
Hi, I'm Fred Ramsey. And I'm Mark Tobin. Hey, folks, if you're not busy Saturday mornings from 6 to 7 a.m., well, I hope you'll join us for the Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet St. Joe.
Join us and our expert guests, and we'll be talking about hunting and fishing, dog training. We'll give you tips, pass along stories, and most important, share some laughs along the way.
That's right. We cover it all, from crappie to waterfowl, and we'll tell you how to cook it, too.
The Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet, Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Catch the Pick segment with Fat Jack weekly during the program with Soren Petro Thursdays at 3 all football season long on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The guys and Fat Jack will pick 5 games against the spread and give their opinions on how the games are going to play out. There will be bragging and trash talking. Fat Jack has been a leading sports analyst for 27 years. His records are documented and recorded at fatjacksports.com. Listen every Thursday at 3 during the program for the program picks with Fat Jack. Learn more at fatjacksports.com.
WHB Kansas City.
Join the Zone, broadcasting live from Mod Pizza Lenexa for their grand opening at 87th Street and 435 in Sonoma Plaza on Wednesday, December 14th. The first 50 people in line will receive a free pizza, and everyone can enter a drawing to win free pizza for a year. Mod is where you and your friends can enjoy your very own custom artisan-style pizzas and salads. They're all about choices, made on demand. Everyone can select their favorites from over 40 toppings, 8 sauces, and dressings. Join the Zone this Wednesday at Mod Pizza in Lenexa for their special grand opening in Sonoma Plaza. All pizzas welcome.
Second and goal. Mahomes flipping underneath. McKinnon turns it upfield. Dives. Touchdown. Second of the day for Derrick McKinnon. And he gives it up for the big man Spike. Kansas City builds on its lead.
Derrick McKinnon got the touchdown. Creed Humphrey got the spike. That's our play of the game, brought to you by Central Bank. For more, visit them online at centralbank.net. Oh, the touchdowns came so easily once upon a time for the Kansas City Chiefs. 27-0 feels so very long ago. But ultimately, the Chiefs still get the victory. They scored just 7 points from that point on. Maybe this is why the game just doesn't feel all that satisfying. The Chiefs went up 27-0 and then lost the rest of the game 28-7. Now, they won the game 34-28, so that's not really how it works. But that is how it feels to watch. And so the Chiefs' performance in this one was certainly up and down. We'll hear about it now from the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs as Andy Reid went to the podium to talk about the game immediately following the victory.
Andy Reid is presented by Robert Brogdon Buick GMC and Robert Brogdon's Olathe Kia. Visit BrogdonAutomotive.com.
So a tale of two halves, perhaps, although the Chiefs didn't make it quite in a halftime before the Broncos began their comeback. Here's Andy Reid talking about his overall feelings on the game and how the Chiefs came out from an injury perspective.
All right. Heck of a football game. These are the injury. I mean, really, we don't have anything, so we're good there. Great game. My hat goes off to Nathaniel and the job that he's done here. Those guys never gave up, down 27-0. It's a tribute to the offense and defense playing hard. Second quarterback comes in. They still continue to play hard. I've got to give a couple shout-outs to Kelce, first of all, at 10,000 career yards. He broke that tonight. And then 7 years in a row of 1,000-yard games. So it's quite a tribute to him. And then, just our defense. I thought our defense played hard, tremendous today, with the exception of, a couple of the interceptions there. The defense was in a bad position, but short field. But I thought overall they really played hard and aggressive. And listen, McKinnon at 112 yards receiving, 2 TDs. Pacheco 70 yards, none bigger than that last one. Juju 9 catches for 74 yards. So, and then Pat, I know I'm going to be asked about that. Every quarterback that's played in this league a while has a game like that. The one great thing about him is he kept firing and had a lot of big plays. And so, you can't take away the 3 interceptions, but there sure were some good ones in between those. And and it's a great learning experience. But every great one's done and had that. So, it's one of those deals, and we were able to work through. Nobody hung their head. Everybody kept battling, and we ended up finishing the game the right way. So.
Yeah, I don't think there's any grand cause for concern on Mahomes, although Andy Reid asked and talked about that plenty. I don't know if the defense played tremendous. They did play aggressive, again, really up until almost the 2-minute warning in that first half. And he's right that the Mahomes picks put the defense in some bad spots, but ultimately from the about the 2-minute mark in that first half on, they certainly had their issues. But more on those interceptions from Patrick Mahomes here from Andy Reid.
Well, he'll see the tape, and he saw he knew where he goofed, but he'll go back and look at the tape once we have a chance to do that. You could see, he's got a good enough feel for the game where he knows what he did wrong there. But
that goes back to our earlier conversation about, does Andy Reid need to be, yelling at Mahomes in the sidelines? Quote, he knew where he goofed. All right. We're just out here goofing around for those Mahomes interceptions. I don't think Mahomes needs anyone to explain to him that picks aren't great. We'll hear from him shortly as well. Here back to when the Chiefs were up 27-0. Andy Reid was asked about running the football more under those circumstances than the Chiefs did at that point today.
Yeah, so we were trying to mix it and keep the pedal down. That's these games you got to stay on top of it, and so that's what we were doing. But we had a mix on there.
You know what? I think that is a totally fair answer, because I think that if we say, then the Chiefs handled the ball off 3 times and then punted a couple drives in a row, we'd be saying Andy Reid took his foot off the gas, which we've talked about already in this game. And they throw the ball and it doesn't work. And we say, why was Andy Reid so aggressive? Why are they still throwing the ball at that point? Now, I think you can run the ball and keep your foot on the gas. I think that world does exist, at least when your running game is a little more explosive, as the Chiefs can be at sometimes and isn't always very consistently. But I do think that, I wouldn't want the Chiefs running the ball only, for lack of a better term. You don't want that to become the only thing you're doing even late in the game. You don't want to just be trying to burn the clock. You need first downs. You need to advance the football. You want to keep scoring. So that's a delicate balance, and the Chiefs ultimately didn't strike it as well as they needed to today. Reid here talks more about Mahomes and the composure that he's able to have in adverse circumstances, like in this game where he ends up turning the ball over 3 times.
Yeah, well, listen, he's a great player, first of all, and he's got a great attitude. So, and he's got good people around him, and he trusts the players. The one to Scantling was a big play. He actually checked to that route that Scantling ran, and was a play that we kind of narrow things down. If it comes down to the end of a game, what are your favorites? And that was one of his favorites, but it does have an alert on it where he had to call Scantling on that route. So, anyways, his composure, he's great with it, and he'll learn. He'll learn from the mistakes, which is not everybody does, but he will.
I think he'll figure it out. That part doesn't concern me, but interesting to hear a little more of the inner workings there from Andy Reid. Back to the idea of keeping your foot on the gas and putting teams away. Here's Andy Reid on that particular topic.
Yeah, so we talk about that all the time. About so you got a team down. This is a National Football League, so the margin between winning and losing is like this, and this team's had a bunch of games, 10 out of 12 games, where it was a one-score game. So you know that 27-0 lead, that might you got to stay on top of it, and that goes back to Adam's question. So you better stay on top of it. And you better put them away, and so we try to do that all the way around.
All right, here's where I'm in the way again, though. If you're about putting teams away, this goes to the question again of staying aggressive and whatnot. Put them away on 4th and 3. You have a chance with your offense. Hey, you have a chance to really advance the possibility that you are going to, quote unquote, put them away by staying on the field, eaten more of the game. More importantly, continuing to stack touchdowns. Not field goals, touchdowns. You want to put teams away, that's the fastest way to do it. Now, you got to figure out where your balance is. You got to figure out what your math says. But the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not nitpicking on any like 4th and 11, like random backed up in your own territory nonsense. These are realistic go situations. Some of them were heavy go situations, but most of them were arguable. Genuinely, this isn't like, oh, you missed an easy go. Andy Reid usually goes for it when they're down, 6 points on 4th and 2 in the other team's territory. When it's not obvious, though, that is a place where the Chiefs have room to improve, which is what frustrates me because it's not that complicated. I'm no mathematician. And I've more or less figured out a way where the Chiefs could, put teams away a little more efficiently. Next here from Andy Reid asked if they lost any edge or momentum to the Broncos.
I don't think it was the edge. I just think, the turnovers, that was pretty evident. That got us, but battled back through it.
And again, I do think without the turnovers, the defensive performance is not nearly as evident in where the negatives are at. And certainly the offense probably keeps rolling, and that's just a Mahomes problem. I just don't think it's a start of a trend. I think it's this game. Now you could say, hey, what happens if it's not a trend, but it is that game in the playoffs? Well, we saw it. He had a bad half in the AFC Championship game last year, and we've been talking about that bleep for the last 11 months. And rightfully so. It was bad. And here we are. This was a trio of bad moments in a game where Mahomes also did things that most other quarterbacks wouldn't even, maybe even literally, would not even think to do. This is a really high, really low game for Mahomes. Again, this is what I think. This is the fan fiction of a game that people are writing around the draft. He hasn't had a lot of games like this. This ended up being one of them. Again here from from Andy Reid talking about Mahomes and McKinnon, the connection those two had in that one incredible no-look shovel sprinting to the sideline touchdown that Mahomes had.
Yeah, that wasn't quite like it was drawn up. Listen, if he took and this is hard to say. It's hard for people to see that, but you take out the 3 interceptions, and he really had a heck of a game, from my eyes, and so that's where I'm at. But you can't obviously have the three turnovers.
On that play in particular, though, did you get a good look at how he?
I kind of saw it. Yeah, I kind of saw what was going on. It was on the other side of the field, but I got a pretty good idea of what he did there.
I imagine he's probably going to take another look at it on the flight back from Denver. But yeah, I didn't think that was most likely how they drew it up. Last one here from Andy Reid. The Chiefs have not yet clinched the AFC West. And right now, as the Chargers and Dolphins play in L.A. on Sunday Night Football, the Chargers are up 10-0. Beards, is that over on ESPN Kansas City right now? If people are sick of my voice already. I know we had the Comets game down there, so I'm not sure what the schedule is. We'll bring you the second half of that game live here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, your home for the NFL.
Yes.
So, and right now it's over on ESPN Kansas City?
Yes.
Okay, so 1510 AM, 94.5 FM if you want to check out the Sunday Night Football game now. But if you want to stick with us, we'll hear from Patrick Mahomes momentarily, Matt Derrick later on, Nathaniel Hackett tonight as well. Then we'll bring you the second half of Chargers and Dolphins right here on 810. But it's a 10-point lead for the Chargers right now. A couple of mistakes from the Dolphins I've seen, and that honestly seems like this game could be even worse for Miami, but could be a real tight one. So anyway, I say all of that to say, if the Chargers lose to the Dolphins tonight, the Chiefs will clinch the AFC West. If the Chargers win, then all of this conversation will come back around next week, and the Chiefs will, I imagine, just lock up the AFC West with a victory over the Texans. I guess if the Chargers keep winning, maybe there's some. I haven't looked at all the situations because, frankly, it's just a matter of time for the Chiefs. They're going to win the AFC West, which is why the questions are being asked today. So Andy Reid was asked about the feeling of potentially winning the AFC West if the Chargers do in fact lose tonight, or if they have to wait and clinch it on their own here to come.
Yeah, well, we don't have it yet. Yeah. No, I'll tell you what. I'm going to reserve that because that can be taken a few different ways. I'm going to just reserve that until it happens. I want to make sure we stay on top of it here, Adam. And if the Chargers happen to win, we've got to, we got to make sure we're right too. So. Anything else? All right.
That's more or less what I expected from Andy Reid there. It's our friend Adam Teicher there. I thought was the Adam in question. He's trying to he wants to have a chance to write about the AFC West. Gosh darn it! And so far, the Chargers might be spoiling it. But I kind of figured Andy Reid might pass on that until he's got the hat on his head. But post game next week could be the time if the Chargers had just lost a fumble here. It looks like. Well, hold on a second. Wait. The Dolphins lost a fumble. Oh, no. Well, if this happened, what happened was that the Dolphins lost the fumble. It popped out, and a certain number 10 for Miami was holding it, who then escaped the pile and took it to the house. Potentially one of the
Who was that, Josh?
stranger... I can't... If I could see the back of his jersey. Hell, maybe? Oh, Hall? Is it Hall? Ball is ripped out by the Chargers. Bounces around. I'm watching number 10 is Tyreek Hill. Watching him on the replay here. He sees the ball pop out. It squirts out of the pile. He scoops it, runs a big U-turn, and takes it for a touchdown. I believe it'll go down as a rushing touchdown in the fumble recovery for Tyreek Hill. Anyway, in the AFC East and AFC West, the action continues as now the Chargers' lead is down to 3 points as that game has just gone 10-7 on a totally bizarre Tyreek Hill touchdown where he was at no point intended to touch the ball on that running play. Wow, what a weird one. So there's Andy Reid talking about all sorts of things from Chiefs and Broncos. Again, that AFC West championship won't get locked up tonight if the Chargers win, but it will get locked up tonight if the Dolphins take the W. What about from the quarterback side? Yep, 3 picks and a weird day with a couple of great plays and a couple of crummy ones from Patrick Mahomes. We'll hear from him right after this.
Patrick Mahomes press conference brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity Internet. Stay connected with Wi-Fi coverage that delivers the speed, reliability, and coverage you need. Can your internet do that?
We're starting with the INTs for Patrick Mahomes. 3 of them for 15, a rare sight to see. I imagine that Patrick Mahomes was probably not thrilled with his performance in the turnover department.
Yeah, I mean, just 3 bad decisions. If you look at them, the first one probably just took the easy throw to outside, try to force it to Kelce. The second one, I really was just trying to burn it, and he made a hell of a play. I was trying to just throw it away at someone's feet. And then the third one was it's bad, just because the situation, we're in field goal range, especially here at altitude, and if I throw the ball away, no one's open, so just throw the ball away and let Harrison end the game. But luckily for me, the rest of the team stepped up. Defense made a lot of stops in critical moments. When we were putting them in some bad situations. And I thought even like special teams, they made the field goals. Tommy flipped the field a couple of great times for us. The guys around me stepped up and made some plays happen.
Okay, so play the beginning of that for me again real quick, Pierce, just for what happened on the very first pick.
Yeah, I mean, just 3 bad decisions. If you look at them, the first one, probably just took the easy throw to outside, try to force it to Kelce.
Okay, so he wishes he would have gone with the easier throw instead of trying to force it there. So that's the first one. Then the second one, he said he was just trying to burn it, just trying to throw it away. I guess that was sort of the shoestring one. That's got to be a frustrating thing as a quarterback. But he says, hey, the guy makes a hell of a play. You can get over that, I suppose, despite it being obviously bad. But then the third one, quote, it's bad. Patrick Mahomes knows those were not great. But first one felt like trying to make a play. Second one felt like just didn't throw it away the right way, which is largely, unacceptable. Again, nobody's coming to me to hear me keep Patrick Mahomes in line. But you can't have that. That's frustrating, but a guy makes a great play. Third one, though, sounds like the one that really bugs him. And having 3, I'm sure, really bugs him. The INTs were on the bad side, but that touchdown pass to Derrick McKinnon, there were 2. You've heard the highlights already here tonight. But that little no-looker was something special. Here's Patrick Mahomes on the touchdown to McKinnon.
Yeah, that was I was committed to running, and then I saw I was probably going to get hit like I did last week in Cincinnati, so I just kind of flicked it. I was just trying to get it to him whatever way possible, and I kind of just flicked it, and he made a great play after. Guys made some blocks downfield, and he scored a touchdown. So I got to just find that fine line of when I'm doing that type of stuff and it's good for us, and when I do stuff and when it's bad for us. And I think that's something that I continue to work on and to continue to get better at.
And here's the thing. I mean, on some level, that's going to be the case when he is hopefully, knock on wood, hopefully doing this at, let's just say, 65 years old. I will be 65 years old out there hopping around doing something totally nonsense that creates a huge play, and then every once in a while, every few weeks, you're going to have that bite you. If that's a little part of the Patrick Mahomes experience, it has had a ratio that I am so thoroughly okay with that it's never going to stress me out. The ratio today is what it can't be. He knows that. It can't be one crazy, and there were a couple of really nice plays for him, but it can't even be 1-to-1 in terms of like, oh my goodness, I can't believe he did that, and oh my goodness, I can't believe he did that. That's a balance that over the course of his career he has struck expertly. Today was a messy game. If it's a trend, we'll talk about it differently. On a one-off like this, I'm not losing my mind. I'm guessing Andy Reid wasn't either. Here's Patrick Mahomes on what he heard from Andy Reid after the interceptions.
Yeah, I mean, he tells me to keep throwing it, man. Keep slinging it. He don't want me to lose who I am. I mean, I promise you, I'm knowing I'm messing up. Like when I go to the sideline, I'm hot, and those coaches come to me and they say like they understand I know, but they still let me know like what I can get better at. But I just can't put our team in that situation. And luckily we got the win. But you don't win a lot of games when you have 3 interceptions.
I just think that's probably all you really need to hear. He knows, they know, we know. Kind of is what it is, right? If coaches are coming over and saying, here's what you saw, here's what didn't work, here's what you need to do differently there, that's useful. But he knows that he can't be turning the ball over, and you are not going to win a lot of games throwing 3 picks. In fact, to win a game throwing 3 picks, you have to have some plays that, well, only Patrick Mahomes can do. That's the catch-22. Again, this has not been a Patrick Mahomes problem over the course of his career, that he's throwing 3 circus touchdowns and then 3 Looney Tune interceptions. I'm just not that stressed about it, to be honest. Next here, a little more on that interception when he was targeting Kelce and how he's going to get better moving forward.
Yeah, they were each unique. Just trying to force it when it's not there. I think that's the biggest thing. The first one to Kelce, he can't pull up. It's like the rule because the guy's underneath him. And I'm trying to pull him up in that window, and he's doing his role. And so then I lead him into the linebacker. It's just little things like that. It's just being a little too loose with the football. And I got to correct that because we're going to continue to play good teams, and we're trying to make a run in the playoffs. And I have to correct that and take all the good that I'm doing, and then take away that negative stuff because that's what loses you games in the playoffs.
He's right about all of that. You're never going to get your good to a 100. You're never going to get your bad to a 0, but you want to keep moving that slider, and certainly he's very much aware of that. He's also been utterly dominant on the road in the AFC West. Here's Mahomes on his AFC West road record.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I think it's really cool the stadiums that we get to go to and the fan bases. I mean, if you look at our division, I mean, the stadiums and the fan bases are top notch. So when you go, it's going to be loud. It's going to be at an awesome stadium, awesome venue, and you got to play your best football to win. And I did just enough today against a really good defense. I mean, they have a really good defense to win, and we focus on those teams all off season. We like the Denver, obviously, the Chargers, the Raiders. And we try to have a game plan for them, and we try to execute at a high level.
And they largely do. They don't do a lot of losing in the AFC West. We'll see them try to keep that clean sheet going on the remainder of this season as well. Back to the interceptions, though. Mahomes asked if those picks added any pressure coming out of a half.
Luckily for us, we built a lead up there early. So even though we ended the half not the way we wanted to, especially me, obviously, but we had a little bit of lead going into half, so you kind of have like the glass half empty, half full. Like you got a 13-point lead. You would have took it when you got in there, but obviously didn't end with the momentum in our favor. But, I mean, I think with me, I'm not going to be scared to throw it. I mean, I'm gonna keep shooting. I think that's what it takes in order to win. You don't want to play scared and timid, and when you throw an interception, kind of shut down. And I think that's a worse way. You lose games that way. And so, luckily for me, I got guys in there that believe in me. Every guy was coming up to me and saying, "Keep firing it," and we did enough to win.
He's 100% right about all of that. As soon as you see Patrick Mahomes get timid, call for help. That is not the result you want. He knows that. The Chiefs know that. I'm not worried about it. The streak against Denver now, I believe, is up to 14 consecutive wins for Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes over the Denver Broncos. It extends pre-Mahomes as well, though. Alex Smith versus Peyton Manning is when the streak began. I think was that game where Peyton Manning got pulled for Brock Osweiler, and then the Broncos still went on to win that Super Bowl following the game. Not following that game, but later on in that season. The Chiefs have not lost to the Broncos since then. Again, I think it's now 14 for Kansas City over Denver in a row. Here's Mahomes on that winning streak versus the Broncos.
Yeah, I think we just have a good game plan coming in. Denver's always a great challenge for us. I think you see the record and you see 10-0, but if you look at the games, it's always a fight, a dog fight. You're going in there trying to battle. You're going to get their best effort, and it's something that we focus on in the offseason, try to just focus on winning games. But luckily for us, it's kind of went our way, and so we'll try to keep that going.
That 10 in a row, I guess, might just be with Mahomes, because if that included the Week 17 game that he started, maybe that's his record against the Broncos. That would track, right? Because they got one more this year and one odd one there. Probably right. But the Chiefs have been victorious against the Broncos without exception, even dating back pre-Mahomes. It's pretty incredible AFC West domination there. The Chiefs will get another crack at it, and the Broncos will get another crack at it in just a few weeks. Meanwhile, Mahomes talked about the defense stepping up. Again, the offense really did put them in some bad positions on those turnovers. So here's Mahomes on what the defense did to keep the Chiefs in the game.
It was huge. They came out of the half and they hit a screenplay for, 70 yards for a touchdown, even though I thought the defense was playing good. They called the perfect play versus the perfect blitz, and that happens. That's why everybody's NFL caliber players and coaches. And so for them to respond, and then we go 3 and out quick, and the defense go right back on the field. Tommy flips the field, then we go right back on the field and gets a stop. That gave us a chance to get that touchdown drive there at the end of the third quarter. So the defense, like I said, that guy stepped up. I didn't play my best football, especially at certain points in the game, but guys stepped up around me so that we won as a team.
Here's a quick stat from the one and only Curtis Seabolt here. Let me check my notes. Sports Radio 810, is that WHB? Curtis says, the Chiefs have not lost to the Broncos since the Royals won the World Series. Now, I'm going to look that up as well because I don't think that's right. Because I'm pretty sure the Royals won the World Series 5,000 years ago. But assuming that Curtis's research is correct, which is a pretty good way to live your life, I have no doubt. That is absolutely true. The timeline of that tracks. So you think about how long ago the Broncos Super Bowl felt and how long the Royals World Series felt. That is the stat from Curtis. The Chiefs have not lost to the Broncos since the Royals won the World Series. Incredible. Next here from Mahomes, I've given you the AFC West settings a few times here. The Chargers lose tonight. The Chiefs would clinch if the Chargers win. Right now they're up 10-7 over the Dolphins, although Miami has the football with about 6 minutes left in the first half. If the Chargers lose tonight, the Chiefs will clinch yet another AFC West championship. Here's Mahomes and the possibility of locking up the division one more time.
Yeah, our goal is just to continue to get better each and every week. We go into every season and we say we want to win the AFC West, we want to get home field in the playoffs, and we want to win a Super Bowl. And so hopefully we continue. We haven't done it yet. We win the AFC West. That's our first goal. And it's special. I think guys, I want to make sure guys remember that it's special winning divisions. And so win the AFC West, and then our next goal is to try to establish home field advantage, and that's going to take us playing great football week in and week out. And then we try to win the Super Bowl, and that takes building. You're not going to play your best football every week, but how can you build on your past week and the rest of the season to make sure you're playing your best football when the playoffs come around?
The overall view on this Chiefs season is going to be fascinating when we have it all said and done, but obviously we're still at least a handful of weeks away from that, and hopefully we're about 2 months away from the end of the Chiefs season. But it'll be interesting to look back on how we look at the standards we expected the Chiefs to meet versus what they actually did versus how our expectations changed over the course of the year. But winning in the AFC West, once again, just a matter of time. It'll either be tonight or it'll be, I believe, just by winning next week if the standings work out the way that I imagine they should. I mean, the Chargers are 6-6, so I think the Chiefs can lock that up with a win. But shortly, the Chiefs will win the AFC West once again. An incredible streak in a division that absolutely loaded up for what they thought was going to be an off year for the Chiefs to try to dethrone them. And the division's going to be locked up before Christmas. Maybe a week before Christmas. Maybe 2 weeks before Christmas. That is an incredible achievement. This game today is just sort of a funky way to potentially do it, pending Chargers-Dolphins. One more from Mahomes here. He was asked if there was any sort of sense of lost focus when the Chiefs took that big lead.
It shouldn't be. I mean, when you get a big lead, you should try to press and keep getting better and better. But it seems like with me, I like to be down before I play good. So I'm going to try to change that around and make sure I play good all the time.
Hey, you know what? Sounds good to me. If you insist, Patrick Mahomes, if you'd like to always throw touchdowns and never throw interceptions, well, if you twist my arm, I'll take it. In the meantime, though, it wasn't enough for the Chiefs to win. It just wasn't exactly the most normal of football games. But with the Chiefs, when is that ever the case? We'll talk about it more with Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest on the other side of the break. This is the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show, brought to you by CBD American Shaman. Free CBD samples every day.
You're listening to exclusive postgame coverage on Kansas City's home for the NFL. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Brought to you by Casey's own CBD American Shaman. Come on into your local shaman store for a free sample of stress-sacking CBD. Everything is better with the feather.
Kevin Harlan here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Coming up in the primetime spotlight, Mac Jones and the New England Patriots travel to the desert to face Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. Arizona looking for a resurgent end to the season, while the Pats are trying to stay afloat in the playoff race. Join Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner and me for all the action on Monday Night Football.
Live coverage begins at 7 on ESPN Kansas City 94.5 FM.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-478-6688. That's 1-800-478-6688. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-478-6688. That's 1-800-478-6688.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
Get ready for Monday Night Football with the KC Legends Show, hosted by Bill Moss, live from Barstool Sportsbook inside Hollywood Casino. Bill's special guest this week is former Chiefs quarterback Tony Adams. He'll break down the Chiefs and Broncos, look ahead to the rest of the regular season, and get you ready for the Patriots and Cardinals on Monday Night Football. There's no better place than Barstool Sportsbook inside Hollywood Casino to place your bets. Featuring 16 betting kiosks, 5 betting windows, and 45 HD TVs. Come check it out with the KC Legends Show tonight at 6 on ESPN Kansas City 94.5 FM.
Hello, it's Mark Whitlow from Office Products Alliance. Kansas City is on a roll. So many good things are coming our way. Many outsiders are realizing what a great community we have built. They are moving here and planning major events here. Our community's local businesses and their leaders have played a significant role. Let's continue to support our local businesses. Together, we can make Kansas City a better place for all of us. Check us out at opakc.com.
Have you checked out Brobeck's Barbecue? It's the best little smokehouse in Kansas City. At Brobeck's, their barbecue is unique. They use their own proprietary rubs and recipes and smoke in genuine Kansas City hickory pits. It makes for a mouth-watering taste. All the meats come dry without sauce, so feel free to use something from their sauce bar or bring in your own. They have daily lunch specials and are the home of Kansas City's own smoky ham salad. Call 913-901-9700 or online at brobecksbbq.com. Brobeck's Barbecue, the best little smokehouse in Kansas City.
At the United States Postal Service, we're here to deliver fast and reliable service to help you get holiday ready. We offer free package pickup and deliver free shipping supplies to your address. So whether you're in Garland, Texas, Rudolph, Wisconsin, or anywhere in between, we're making it easier for you to spread festive cheer this holiday season. USPS, delivering for America. For all your holiday needs, including info about free shipping supplies, free package pickup availability and restrictions, go to USPS.com/holidays.
With inflation on the rise, you may be charging more to your credit card. But be careful, that increased debt can cause your credit score to suffer.
Don't get stuck with a low credit score and a mountain of high-interest credit card debt. Call Golden Oak Lending now.
Refinance with our low rates to wipe out your high-interest credit card debt and put extra cash in your pocket. Call 913-890-GOLD.
Golden Oak Lending, join my blues.
NMLS 114937.
Second down and 1. Mahomes, fake it, step up, launches it downfield to Kelce. Travis Kelce, big gain inside the 35. Kelce looking to crack the 10,000 mark. That's 38 yards for Travis Kelce. And he is the 5th tight end ever to reach that plateau.
10,000 receiving yards on a career, as you heard, only the 5th tight end to ever do that, and the 7th consecutive year over 1,000 yards receiving in a single season. That's a tight end record that he has now broken approximately 54 times over. It's not quite that many, but Kelce's been breaking his own records there for a while now. That performance brought to you by Greengrass Cattle Company. Visit their store in Weston, Missouri off 45 Highway, less than a mile from the ranch, or order online at greengrasscattleco.com and they'll deliver right to your door. They're locally owned and operated right there in Weston, Missouri. They implement the best practices with their premium black Angus cattle, providing the best feed, clean water, and a low-stress environment to make sure you have the best tasting beef in town. So go visit them out there in Weston or online at greengrasscattleco.com. Matt, this is not what led our conversation today. We certainly have plenty to get to with you. Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, on Twitter at Matt Derrick as well. But let's start with Travis Kelce for the time being, because an absolutely absurd series of career monuments taking place on that one reception for a career that has been simply absurd.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool confluence to be able to go over 1,000 yards for the 7th straight time and get to 10,000 yards on the same play. That's pretty cool. I mean, and I still marvel at the fact that we're talking about 7 straight seasons when the guy in second place has 4.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, this is just unbelievable. And is there any end in store? I mean, at the way he's playing, if he stays healthy, this isn't the last. So it really is remarkable, and it's just another reason why, you know, and I was thinking about this earlier today, you know, just as far as the people that I've been able to cover, you know, on this beat and everything, this is just one of those guys you just don't take for granted, Chiefs fans. I mean, it's been incredible. And what's more incredible is that, you know, I think there's a really good chance that Travis Kelce just remains a Chief his entire career and doesn't play for another team. And if that's the case, that just makes his career even more remarkable and something to enjoy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And having Patrick Mahomes here has just felt like a force multiplier for him. But his greatness was evident with Alex Smith, and now it is just continuing to rise to levels that I think by the end, the entire NFL will finally appreciate. I hate doing like the greatest of all time conversation because I think it typically devalues at least someone in the conversation. It becomes an argument against somebody rather than just arguments for incredible ones. But do you get the feeling that Kelce does get enough appreciation, or is there something to being overshadowed by the quarterback? Is that different nationally and locally? Anything else in the scope of his career to this point that we maybe don't appreciate enough?
You know, the funny thing is that I was finally getting a chance to catch up on the podcast that Kelce and Mahomes did on Kelce's podcast. Mm-hmm. And I was really intrigued by, you know, Kelce talking about how, you know, when he came into the league that he truly was, you know, a Y type. That it really was pure tight end.
Yeah.
And he conceded that, you know, now, hey, he's playing a little bit more, you know, what you would say receiver routes and, you know, positions and everything. But he said, you know, Andy Reid deserves that credit for, you know, evolving the offense around him and evolving the position to fit his skills and doing what he does. Because the reality is, for all the knocks that Travis Kelce gets for, playing receiver routes and being a receiver more than a tight end, the reality is that every tight end that's coming into the league is doing that now. Yeah. Teams are trying to find the next Travis Kelce. I mean, George Kittle wouldn't be doing what he's doing if they weren't stealing things from what the Chiefs do with Travis Kelce. Yep. And the best tight ends in the league do what Travis Kelce does now.
I think Kyle Pitts was the 4th overall pick. That doesn't happen in 1997. That guy's probably not going there, and he's a menace. He's just maybe just playing receiver in a different world. I don't know. It's a great point though. It is. Andy Reid and Travis Kelce have changed the tight end position forever.
Yeah, they really have. I mean, it's the tight end position is absolutely different than it was even 10, 15, 20 years ago for sure, and certainly different from when I was growing up. I mean, Kellen Winslow was the best tight end in the world when I was a kid, and and he and Travis Kelce are two different critters. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that. And what Travis Kelce is doing, and people say, oh well, the tight end, he doesn't block or anything like that. Well, he does a little bit, and he used to block a lot more, and he's still pretty good at it. A lot better for it than people give him credit for. Yes. But the reality is, best tight ends in the league don't block anymore.
Yeah. All right, so outside of the tight end position, let's get macro here. I can't even imagine that even you, having seen plenty of football and being prepared for lots of weird games, I can't imagine what you would have looked like if I would have said at 27-0, hey, this game's going to end in a little bit of a nail biter, or at the very least, the Broncos are going to make the Chiefs score again, and they're only going to do that once.
I would have definitely given you a meme-worthy look of some sort. This game made no sense. There's no doubt about that. And the funny, I'm going to come across as being as a real jerk here. Because I'm not grouping and talking about any one particular person, although I might be talking to you if you're listening right now. It's possible you fit into this category. But the things that I heard from people and from fans this week, you should be worried about this game because the Broncos play nothing but close games, and the Chiefs played poorly last week, so they might lose this game. And then, of course, they come out 27-0, and everybody's, trying to go out and figure out, what kind of yard work do I need to get done? Are there Christmas presents that I need to get still? Everyone's moving on. And then all of a sudden, Broncos come back, and all of a sudden it's fire everyone. Andy Reid is terrible. Fire Steve Spagnuolo. Bring back, Bob Sutton. Nothing quite that bad. But I went from having people in the locker room this week asking, at the podium, asking the Chiefs if, this winning the AFC West this year wasn't going to have the same meaning or was going to be different because it was so easy in a year when, everybody rebuilt in the AFC West. And it was supposed to be so tough, and yet it's been so easy to win the West. And now, they're here at the game, the Chiefs, people are like, well, Chiefs can't win a playoff game. Yeah. Which is it? Yeah. I mean, and you talk about, getting down to the macro level. At the same time, you really need to take a 30,000-foot view because – my opinion on this team from 3:04 this afternoon hasn't changed between now and 8:44. Yeah. There are 3 teams in the AFC West who are likely to go to the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs are still one of them.
You mean from the AFC, I imagine. I can't.
I would say it's 3 teams or the field, and you can take the field if you want it, but I'll take the other 3.
I think you said there are 3 teams from the AFC West.
Pardon me.
And it's okay. I thought, wow, you're really high on the Chargers still, and I respect that. But, I'm having a hard time coming up with a third. But yeah, no, I think there's something to that. I also just think that fairly or unfairly, when you're up 27-0 and the game ends 34-28, you do kind of end that game with a feeling that you ate your dessert first and then somebody force fed you a bunch of boiled broccoli or something. I don't know what your least favorite vegetable is, but anything just boiled is probably not the way to do it. Like I feel like we took some bites out of some raw cabbage for the last 32 minutes of that game. Help me understand what happened there and where you kind of spread out the credit and the blame, because you're right. I think if this game would have been, well, I don't know, if it would have been 34-28, Matt, I still might have felt a little bit concerned about all this. I had no doubt at all if this game would have been, whatever I said on Friday, 27-17, I would not have had that cabbagey taste in my mouth. But What did happen there, and how should we feel?
Well, and I mean, this game is a complete dichotomy for so many different reasons, and it's just, I mean, it's hard to get your arms around because, I thought at one point, Andy Reid during the press conference after the game, when he was talking about still throwing the football up 27-0, I thought that I don't think that he would have been unreasonable for saying this. Would have been, you guys are always complaining to me that I don't put the pedal down. I put the pedal down, and now you guys are complaining.
Yep.
To me, this game looked like the Chiefs came out in their scripted, first 15 or 20 plays, and it was rock solid. Really, the only thing that they did wrong was, some of their, once they got into the red zone and got closer to scoring, they stalled a little bit, made a few mistakes. But other than that, the scripted portion was perfect. By the time they ran out of the script, it was basically 20-0. They get the defensive score, and I mean, you could see it. The Broncos were one play away from imploding. I mean, you just felt like if the Broncos come out in that next drive after it goes to 27-0, if they turn over the football here, they make another mistake, the Chiefs score again, you're just feeling like the Broncos are done. I mean, not only for this year, but maybe for 2 more years. I mean, Jerry Jeudy's, throwing fits on the sideline. Guys are upset. I mean, it was that fine of a line for a team that was either going to let just absolutely go in the tank, or they had one more ride in them.
Yeah.
And then the Chiefs make a couple of mistakes. They give the Broncos life. And remember, everything that we talked about earlier in this week was true. The Broncos are an opponent that you have to respect. They're an opponent for which this was their Super Bowl. This is the last really big game on their schedule. This was the only one that was going to mean anything the rest of the way. And they played like it. And at the same time, I say that the Chiefs didn't play necessarily badly, other than 3 bad Patrick Mahomes turnovers. And even then, that's an interesting, looking at Mahomes, because Andy Reid will say he played a great football game except for those 3 turnovers. And he did. Which is hard to get your arms around.
Yeah.
But and as well as the Broncos played, and I give them credit for it, at the same time, the Chiefs defense piled up 6 sacks. They controlled the line of scrimmage. The Broncos were absolutely overmatched at the line of scrimmage, frankly, on both sides of the football. And the plays that they were making, other than the one play, the Marlon Mack on the blitz, that was an absolutely perfect play call. The rest of what the Broncos was doing was just desperation that worked.
Yeah.
I mean, they were like hitting on 15 and got 6 straight hands. I mean, that's to me what this game was. And I mean, I think at the end, what happened was the better team won. It's just some really, really weird stuff happened for about 2 quarters.
I agree with all of that, and sometimes in games.
Tell me where I'm wrong, Josh.
No, well, so
I want to know. I want to know.
This is where I end up, because sometimes in games like this and in shows like this, I'm just sort of going through my external processing therapy from the beginning to the end, and sometimes I move around a little bit from the first segment to the last segment of the show. And I had said at the beginning, and I still will say, I think, I'm leaving Mahomes out of this, I guess, because he's Patrick Mahomes. I think there are a handful of issues with this defense that I'm concerned about, but a lot of that is built on the Bengals game as well. And frankly, a lot of the coaching things are built on the Bengals game as well. So I'm trying to not overreact to any one thing. It's why Patrick Mahomes throwing 3 interceptions in this game, I was going to say, does it bother me? That's not true. It's annoying. I'm sure it bothers him more than it bothers me. I'm not worried about Patrick Mahomes becoming a turnover machine because my eyes have been working for the last several years. The thing that I guess I would still place a little bit of disappointment on is that from that moment that you're describing on, I feel like just about anybody could have stopped the bleeding. They could have stopped the comeback. It could have been the big offensive play that keeps it a 2 or 3 possession game. It could be the defensive stop that even with a short field, because they're put in a bad spot from a Mahomes turnover, a big defensive play in the back half of the game largely feels like it would ice it, and then we could stop stressing about it down to saying, oh, well, the Chiefs really need to burn the clock and get a first down here. It felt like it ended so much closer than it should have with the advantage that they built for themselves early on. I know that all 60 minutes of it count, but I do think that there is some reason to have a little bitterness left from the inability towards that back end to say you have stacked this deck so strongly in your favor that they are going to have a bunch of 15s. Now don't let them be able to pull those 6s every single time they need one, because you're allowed to play defense in this blackjack metaphor. Something in there does still feel to me like a flat conclusion to a game that started with fireworks.
Yeah, I completely agree with that too, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm coming at this with rose-colored glasses and with homerism here, because I'm trying to be as objective as possible with looking at this, and that's why I say, it's hard for me to say, you know what, Chiefs defense played terrible. Oh, they had 6 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you can say Patrick Mahomes played a great game, and yet he had 3 turnovers.
Right.
We're talking about some really weird circumstances, but I just go back to, once again, it's the plays that the Chiefs made. Was there anything that the Chiefs did offensively that you just said they got lucky? No. If anything, I think that they pretty much earned everything that they got. The Broncos played well, and there was nothing that I can say that the Chiefs just pulled one out. Even the Mahomes touchdown to McKinnon, I can't say that's luck because I've seen that guy do it before.
Yeah.
That's not the first time. That's not his first rodeo. But I look at what the Broncos did, and you're talking about one play, and that's why to me it goes back to if the Broncos had 10, 50-50 plays, I think they hit all 10 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because that interception that Patrick Surtain has, was it a great throw by Mahomes? No. He should have, with his decision-making being that he was trying to throw it away, should have thrown it away better.
Yep.
But remember, nobody thought that was an interception.
Yep.
It was only after replay that you go back and say, no, that was an interception. The first, Josie Jewell interception was a pretty athletic play.
Yep.
Converting 2nd and 34, especially with that catch that the tight end had on 2nd down, was a lucky play. And maybe it was a little bit of luck in that Andy Reid decided to take a penalty that would have made it 3rd and 24. 3rd and 24 is different, but, whatever. To me, and some of the throws that Russell Wilson was making, he was making them because his line was just getting ever-living crappy dug out of him, and he escapes just long enough and happens to find somebody on a broken play. It wasn't. There weren't very many just well-executed plays by the Broncos. And sometimes they were just broken plays that worked out in their favor. I don't know. I felt like the Chiefs were the better team today by 14 points. Mm-hmm. And the reason it wasn't a 14-point game was some bad luck. But then the Chiefs have had some games that have gone the other way too. So, and that's why, to me, at the end of that game, I don't know if a whole lot changed because, I get 27-0 means something, but it isn't just a selective endpoint. And at the end of the game, was it perfect? No, but it's a win.
Let me ask one more thing, and we can see if there is anything in this category you'd take, and if not, you can just say nope and then hang up. Is there something where you exit this game feeling worse about it than when you got here? Because I've got at least a couple of them. That again, you can go as micro or as macro as you'd like, I suppose. But anything in this game, you go, you know what? That did go worse than I expected, and I am a little bit worried about that when they have to play a better team in the playoffs.
I would say one from each side of the football. I would say that the pass distribution on offense remains a work in progress. And I say that with, knowing that probably 2 guys that the Chiefs are going to count on later in the season, and McCole Hardman and Kadarius Toney, aren't out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
McKinnon had kind of a, odd game. So you can't say that Derrick McKinnon is going to give you 100 yards receiving every single game. That's probably not going to happen because it's the only second time it's ever happened in his career.
Yep.
It might not happen for another 6 years, and he might not be in the league in 6 more years, but I will never bet against Derrick McKinnon.
Never.
But if it wasn't Kelce and Juju and McKinnon tonight, there wasn't a lot more. They need some other guys to step up. And defensively, this was one of those games where I would say that the secondary had a bad game.
Yeah.
Even though I do talk about a lot of broken plays, the Broncos right now, outside of Judy, they don't have a lot of firepower on offense. And other teams have been able to keep them in check. And the fact that, they struggled, I thought, a little bit in the secondary today, especially with communication, I'll put a pin in that one for the future.
I think that is a good place to put a pin. And the good news is we will have plenty of future to talk about this football team. Matt, we can do it again the rest of the way. We've got some matchups that the Chiefs should be able to put up some good tape against. So we'll see if the post-game shows get a little more fun or, God forbid, significantly less fun in the weeks to come. We'll hear you across the week here on 810. Fridays on the Zone really are my favorite time you have, other than the post-game show on 810, but maybe I'm biased. ChiefsDigest.com as well. Do you know what you're writing about yet tonight?
Right now, I'm just writing and going through what everybody had to say, coaches and players, about this game tonight. And, I'm thinking, should we have a watch party for one of these games at the Green Grass Cattle Company? Because
yes.
I need to be in that relaxing atmosphere with the cows.
Yes, I did go into the device where they put the cows in and then hold them there to give them their shots and to check up on them and everything. And that really was sort of a soothing hug, which I do feel like would be good for most of us during Chiefs games.
I think every Chiefs fan needs a soothing hug during Chiefs games.
I think so. Matt, you are utterly the best, and we appreciate you every week.
I can't even beat that.
No, you shouldn't. You couldn't beef that if you tried. Beat that if you tried. Thanks, Matt.
I love you, Josh. Take care, buddy.
I'm hoofing it. Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. A lot more next whenever we hear from, that was like a moose sound, Nathaniel Hackett, and a little more to break down at this side of the break here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You're listening to exclusive post-game coverage on Kansas City's home for the NFL. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Brought to you by Casey's own CBD American Shaman. Come on into your local shaman store for a free sample of stress-sacking CBD. Everything is better with the feather.
Guys, as the male body ages, testosterone levels steadily decline, and your body's become increasingly unable to produce healthy levels of the primary male hormone testosterone. At Regain Functional Medicine, we can help you regain your quality of life with testosterone replacement therapy. TRT improves brain function, sleep cycles, heart health, performance, and overall body composition so you can feel better, function better, move better, and look better. Visit us today at ifeelmuchbetter.com. Regain Functional Medicine, with locations in Lawrence and Leawood. Regain is better.
Hey, Kansas City, winter is coming, and without proper attic insulation, you'll be wasting money every time your furnace turns on. Star Companies is here to help you save money. Adding insulation to your attic will make your home more comfortable, allow your furnace to run less, and save you money every minute of the day. With federal tax incentive programs on the way, now is the best time to call Star Companies for a free quote and ask about all the ways they can help you save money this winter. Star Companies, 816-353-2160.
Receding hairlines, bald spots, thinning hair, many try medications, foams, special shampoos, or supplements. But the best method for restoring your hair is simple. Transferring your own hair follicles to the places you need them. I'm Dr. Jeff Markey with Ascentus Plastic Surgery. We perform hair transplants with cutting-edge ARTIST robotics to get the single best result for each patient with the least amount of downtime. Contact Ascentus Hair Restoration or visit kansascityhairtransplant.com for a free consultation. Surgical precision with hair restoration performed by plastic surgeons only at Ascentus Hair Restoration.
Ho, ho, ho! It's Steven Santa John here to bring you 12 days of happy holidays. Listen to the Border Patrol beginning Wednesday for your chance to win great prizes. It's the 12 days of happy holidays on the Border Patrol. Brought to you by Boulevard Brewing Company and Sports Radio 810 WHB. Ho, 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 ho!
Ready to change your life? Get a smile you'll love to the moon and back. Expert orthodontist Dr. Moon and his friendly team use the latest technology to make your journey fast, precise, and affordable. They invite patients of all ages to experience warm orthodontic care in a family-friendly atmosphere, serving all ages in Olathe and Overland Park while offering the latest technology in orthodontic care. It's Moon Orthodontics. Revolutionize your smile with a free consultation. Visit moonortho.com.
Join the Zone, broadcasting live from Mod Pizza Lenexa for their grand opening at 87th Street and 435 in Sonoma Plaza on Wednesday, December 14th. The first 50 people in line will receive a free pizza, and everyone can enter a drawing to win free pizza for a year. Mod is where you and your friends can enjoy your very own custom artisan-style pizzas and salads. They're all about choices, made on demand. Everyone can select their favorites from over 40 toppings, 8 sauces, and dressings. Join the Zone this Wednesday at Mod Pizza in Lenexa for their special grand opening in Sonoma Plaza. All pizzas welcome.
Hey, Kansas City, it's Grunny here to wish you a happy holiday and a Merry Christmas.
This year, if you're feeling charitable, stop by Roberts Robinson December 15th between 4 and 6 p.m. for their annual Good Samaritan Center gift card and toy drive. We'll have refreshments, raffle prizes, and of course, pictures with Santa. Get your picture with Santa and help children in need have a great Christmas by donating toys or gift cards. So come by December 15th between 4 and 6 p.m. at Roberts Robinson's in Excelsior Springs. Tell Nick Runny sent you.
Sports Radio 810 is proud to be Kansas City's home for the National Football League.
Allen will throw it into a crowd, knocked around and intercepted. It's picked off by Fenton.
Metcalf open, makes the catch at the 15, into the end zone, touchdown Seattle.
From Monday night to Sunday night and every game in between, keep it right here on your exclusive home for the NFL, the NFL playoffs, and the Super Bowl. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
WHB Kansas City.
Kelce is part of that bunch. Mahomes surveying, spins, keeps it alive, touchdown! Juju Smith-Schuster in the back of the end zone.
For all the talking we've done about Mahomes' game today, the 3 picks and the 1 wizardry pass to Derrick McKinnon, that play belongs in the Mahomes magic category. Every time he turns his back to the line, I get a little bit nervous just because that's a tough spot to be in for a mere mortal, at least. Not the case there for Mahomes. That touchdown was unreal. Quick check-in at halftime of Sunday Night Football. We're bringing the second half of that very, very soon here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. But at the half, they went for it on 4th down right up against the half. The Los Angeles Chargers did, that is. 17-7 Chargers looking to keep their chances in the AFC West technically alive. They're 6-6. If they win, they'd be 6-7, and the Chiefs would have to win next week to clinch. I think that math would all shake out. If the Chargers lose tonight, the Chiefs would clinch right away. I think the only way they would not clinch is if the Chiefs just lost out and the Chargers won out, and I'm not too worried about that happening.
Do you want a fun little stat?
I'd love a fun little stat.
Running back for the Chargers, Joshua Kelly, has the same number of rushing attempts as Miami quarterback Tua Tagovailoa has completions. That is 3.
Also, I just want to commend you on what I think might be the first time I have ever even heard you attempt Tagovailoa.
Yeah.
And based on what Field Yates told us, I think you got it. Good work, Beards.
I thank you.
People don't know this, actually, but the reason that Jason never says Beards' last name on the zone is because Beards' last name is Tagovailoa also. This is the stat line that Beards is referring to right now in the AFC showdown.
I've got it pulled up if you don't.
No, I do.
Excellent.
I'm just really luxuriating in it because you'll know soon enough.
Justin Herbert, 3 sacks. Tua Tagovailoa, 3 completions.
And some of those stats you might think reflects poorly on the Chargers and also poorly on the Dolphins. No, hear us out on this one. Tua has attempted 15 passes tonight so far in the first half. Again, it's halftime right now. In the first half, 15 pass attempts, 3 completions for 25 total yards. That's averaging 1.7 yards per attempt for Tua. Meanwhile, Justin Herbert is 24 of 29 for 222 yards and a touchdown.
Linebacker for the Dolphins, Elandon Roberts, 3 tackles. Quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, 3 completions.
Let me get to the receiving here. We're so close from this one. The longest pass of the night so far from Justin Herbert to Mike Williams, 23 yards, is 2 yards fewer than Tua's total passing in the first half on the night, 25. Dolphins aren't really running the ball terribly well either. The Chargers are running the ball just about the same. But ultimately in the passing game, the Chargers have moved the ball much more smoothly. Tua has not looked very good, and the Chargers are looking to keep the Chiefs from clinching tonight, which is fine by me because then hopefully the Chiefs can just beat the Texans and then put on their, fun hats in the locker room. More fun than winning from home, I imagine. With that being said, one team that was eliminated from playoff contention today, yes, only today, were your Denver Broncos. I don't know if Nathaniel Hackett is going to be able to hack it beyond this season, but if the Broncos need some repairs done to their franchise, I've got an idea for where they could go.
Brought to you by Metcalf CarStar. If your vehicle gets sacked on the road, take it to Metcalf CarStar, the collision repair experts. They make it convenient and easy to get back on the road. Go to carstar.com and search Metcalf CarStar. CarStar. Relax. They'll take it from here.
Nathaniel Hackett here in just a second. Beards, what do you have?
Professional football team, Denver Broncos, 3 wins, Tua Tagovailoa, 3 completions.
Here's Nathaniel Hackett speaking to the media after the Broncos' thrilling come-from-behind loss.
Here's first, Mike Boone. He's got an ankle. He did not return. Russell Wilson has the concussion. He's in the concussion protocol. Kendall Hinton went out with a hamstring, and Jacob Martin went out with a knee. Did not return.
Yeah, Coach, 2 parts. What did you see from your team as you fell behind 27-0? And then any consolation in the way you rallied back and made it a game?
The goal is to win. We all know that. But to watch these guys when you're down 27-0, everybody had a choice on how they wanted to continue that game. And I'm so impressed with all those guys. Defense, offense, special teams. They didn't blink. They stayed together. Defense came through with a big play for an interception. Offense was able to play complementary football and score, and continually scored after they got another interception and then another one. And that's all. It's great. It is awesome. We got to finish. We had opportunities to continually win that game, and I appreciate that. And that is kind of that moral victory. But we want to win the game, and we had a chance to. But I'll tell you, the fight that these guys have is awesome.
Nate, is there anything else you can say about Russell? Just were you able to talk to him at all as he came off the field? And then second part, what did you make of his play up until the point that he went off?
He was fighting the whole game. I give him so much credit. I mean, you see it day in and day out, no matter what the situation is. Just watching him there in that third down situation, be able to break the pocket, and he was using his legs a lot. He obviously ended up getting the concussion. I think our medical team did a great job getting him in here, and he's in the concussion protocol now. So we'll go through that step-by-step process and do it the right way. But he was playing really well.
But Jerry, a career day today, he was frustrated early. Did you talk to him at all? And then is that kind of the performance that shows what Jerry can do at the height of his potential?
I thought Jerry really stepped up. Cortland being down. A lot of guys being down, KJ, Tim, all those guys. Jerry's a guy that had an opportunity. We changed his position this week, and he went out there, and he embraced it. And it was hard at first because they started doubling him. They were trying to take him away. They knew that we wanted to attack with him, and I think that was where a lot of that frustration came from. We talked on the sideline because of that frustration, but he just kept his head down and kept working, and it showed up with those 3 touchdowns, which I thought were awesome, especially the one on the 4th and 7. I thought that was an unbelievably critical time, continually battling back. It was great to see.
Going to that 4th and 7, how close was it to just maybe take the points and try to cut it to a touchdown field goal game? And then what can you say about Brett's performance and relief for Russ?
No, we were 100% full go. When you're playing the Kansas City Chiefs, you've got to be a little more aggressive. And we were going to go for it no matter what. I think we had the ball on about the 2-yard line, I think. Tried to sneak one in, jumped off sides, and we knew we were going to go for it. So it just happened that it ended up being 4th and 7, but I thought Rip made an astounding play. It's great. That's one of the hardest things to do in this game is for a quarterback that has just been standing on the sideline, hasn't gotten a lot of practice all week, and then he's got to go out there and he's got to execute and win a game for you. And I thought he also battled. I mean, that was an absolutely clutch play to make in the back of the end zone to Jerry. And then we had some other ways to be able to move the ball, and unfortunately it didn't come our way. I give the Chiefs a lot of credit. They continually battled also.
Nate, you're right. Just curious if you could expand on what you were thinking, feeling when the score did go to 27-0.
How are we going to get back into it? I think that was the only thing I cared about. We live series to series, and we talked and communicated with the offense. Wanted to make sure that we were going to get into more of our up-tempo stuff, speed the game up, and we knew that's what kind of game it was once we were in that situation. But in the end, it's just about series to series. What are you going to be able to do to be able to get points on the board? And that's all we talked about.
Yeah, Coach, Dalton wasn't able to go today. What was the process and him not being able to go, and how much did that impact you today 6 sacks, 11 quarterback hits.
Did a lot. I mean, Dalton's been our rock. He's been the one guy that's been here throughout the season. Losing him, both as a leader and as a player, definitely was something we were a little nervous about. Luke started it off, and then we started a rotation with Bailey and Moody. I thought those guys got some good experience out there and kept working. But when you're making those changes like we've had all year, it stresses out the pocket sometimes. But those guys continually battled. I give them so much credit for that. No matter what the situation is, I mean, 95 and 55 are premier rushers, and they did a great job with all their pressure package. Those guys stuck together and gave us a chance there at the end.
There you have it, Nathaniel Hackett talking to the media after a loss, but a much closer one than it seemed it was going to be at 27-0. The Chiefs ultimately win 34-28, a higher scoring affair on both sides of the ball than I assumed, honestly. But ultimately, I look around and see a team that did enough to win and maybe not enough to impress against a team they were favored to beat by just about double digits. A defense that got to Russell Wilson, forced turnovers, and did enough on short fields occasionally biting them, but had their performance largely be, turnover forcing, some positive moments. An offense that had a quarterback do some wizardry and ultimately put up almost a 40-burger with some help from the defense, I suppose. Also, both sides of the ball didn't do all they could, and that becomes the challenge of a game like this one. 3 picks from Patrick Mahomes, a defense that let the Broncos back into it, and very rarely did either of those sides do the thing to, as I mentioned earlier, kind of stop the bleeding from this game. Does it say anything about the Chiefs in the long term? Frankly, I don't know if we have enough information for that answer just yet. What we do know is that they're on their road to winning the AFC West once again. The 1 seed very much still in play and still plenty to prove, but for the Chiefs, per usual, they won't be able to prove everything they need to until January and hopefully even February. It's a weird game with lots to break down. We'll cover it all week long right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Me and Beards and Jason Anderson will join you at 10 o'clock tomorrow on The Zone. Coming up next, the second half of Chargers and Dolphins. LA has the ball up 10. That's next here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Bye, Mom.
Sports Radio 810 is proud to be